think we are there. All right. So I see both of us, and I see YouTube, and I know we're already on Zoom, or I wouldn't see both of us. And hello.
Hello.
I'm happy to actually have you here. This is the Black Watch. I don't do real formal introductions. I pay most attention to the audio, my background music, and just that I have all of my amenities. So I appreciate you, Miss Jessica Ashmore, or is it Mrs. Ashmore? Or is Jessica your like stage name?
No, I'm Jessica Ashmore. I did not take my husband's last name. His last name is Lang, and I didn't want to be Jessica Lang.
You could have wrote some checks out here.
I know, right? And it was really funny because this was a long time ago, and back then I don't think American Horror Story had come out yet, and so I have to think, like, Jessica who? And it's like it'll come back around.
It'll come back around.
I came onto the planet as Jessica Ashmore, and that's how I want to leave it. So
and there is nothing wrong with that. I came onto this planet as Shannon McFall, and I've been all kinds of different names and monikers and handles. But I'm going to leave as Shannon McFall. So at this point, I'm trying to be the best Shannon McFall that I can be. So I appreciate you, and nice officially meeting you. You've probably gotten tired of my badgering you with the inboxes, but it was something that I had to do because one thing that I learned, digital footprinting is different than like, the old fashioned way. Hey, I was just reaching out, this, that, and the other, because somebody gave me your number. Nobody gives out phone numbers anymore. So you either go into inboxes, DMs, whatever it is, and that's how you kind of figure it out. Whether you wanted to deal with me or not, you probably did some background, I would probably think, or checked out a video or seen something. Or then again, you did this cold, and that is just flat out ballsy. So I commend you either way for being here with the Black Watch. But I'm not going to keep you all night because I know you've gone wire to wire for the last several days, and that's why we're just now talking tonight. But I want to talk to you really about the village, born and raised in Ann Arbor and being around Washtenaw County most of my life. I just love this place, and I don't like some of the things that have happened. And I love to see successes, and some of the successes just have to come from people like yourself. We can't always rely on government to do right by us and make things right and make playing surfaces even. Sometimes the citizens, the villagers have to make things right. And I know you're not originally from here, so I kind of want to start at the beginning for some people who don't know you. I know, kind of what you do, and I know what you really do, not your occupation, but what your love, your first love has become with the Giving Room. We're going to talk about that, but just give me and give the people that are going to watch this a quick synopsis of Jessica Ashmore and what the Giving Room is about, because I really want to dive into the Giving Room tonight. And
so just Jessica Ashmore as a human, or how I came to be here.
Well, we didn't have anything to do with your parents and how you got here, so we don't really want to go back that far.
Yeah.
As far as we need to go back, you're not from here. You are from the Middle East.
I grew up in the Middle East.
You grew up in the Middle East.
I was born in London.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have a dual nationality. My father is British and my mother is American.
Okay.
And moved here for a quick spell, which is like the only really relevant piece of all of that, between like 2.5 and 6. And then that's when we moved to Kuwait, and most of my childhood then occurred overseas primarily. We would come back and forth. There was a stint during the Gulf War when it was unsafe to be there, and I came back for maybe a year-ish.
Okay.
Just over, and then back to the Middle East, and then ultimately came back my senior year of high school, because my mother was returning to college to finish her degree, so she wanted to go to the University of Michigan, so we came back.
Okay, so what was it like not being from the Middle East, growing up in the Middle East? I mean, what was that?
I had, in my opinion, a really wonderful childhood. I've never quite known life other than being around a really diverse world. And so that was just kind of my story. I went to British schools. And so when we moved to Kuwait, there were British schools. And so I was in British schools until we moved to Turkey when I was in the 5th grade. And then, you know, I would say it was really fantastic because in the, you know, summer times we would travel through different countries because you left the Middle East because it was blisteringly hot and it was just a really common thing. And so I through these experiences just got to kind of go everywhere. And it's funny because my parents will apologize to us now because there was I was just doing a training last night. I'm on the board at the corner and we had to talk about what our family life was like. And, you know, for us, it was kind of pack up, we're going. You didn't really have any kind of a say. It's just what it was. And so I'm just as at home in a hotel room, honestly, as I am in a home. And so you just got on with it. I have a British father, right? You just stiff upper lip, pack your bag.
Keep it moving, keep it moving.
Keep it moving. And even when we were in Turkey, so I ultimately left Turkey because I lived in Izmir, it was on the Mediterranean. And it was the NATO headquarters for the region, and it was an open military base, which is really uncommon. Military bases tend to be in compounds. And my father's not in the military, he's a civil engineer, but I went to a military school and they started bombing all around the city that I was in. They had bombed the Turkish American Association and they bombed the military hotel, and there were car bombs, and it was Iraqis were angry that the Turks were letting American planes and you know, big massive military vessels refuel. And so they started bombing Izmir, and we went, you know, it was like a Tuesday and like you're out on a plane by Thursday evening. And I never fought again. That was the end of that. Pack up your life. And at that point I was actually sent to Decatur, Illinois, to live with my mother's first cousins, which you want to talk culture shock, right? You could send me as a kid to any country in the world, but you put me in Decatur, Illinois.
Decatur, Illinois. Okay.
I didn't even know what to do with myself because I'd never really been around and Turkey, yes, because it was a Dodds school, but around Americans as the main. And so that was a big shock. So yes, I don't know. I feel really fortunate that I had that opportunity to really be in a true melting pot of an experience. And I feel like, you know, I moved to America when I was 17 and I don't know that I've gotten used to it yet.
Okay. And it's crazy to me that you've done all that traveling and you don't even seem fazed by it now. Like it probably was ridiculous at that time, but you don't seem fazed by it, just the life you live, because dealing with juveniles primarily, right? You're a juvenile probation officer?
Yeah.
And seeing all the things that they go through. I mean, obviously, if you're seeing someone that's a probationer, they've gone through something. They've dealt with something.
Yeah.
And you're not dealing with just black and white. You're dealing with all ethnicities, and you're dealing with, you know, you're dealing with kids that families have all the resources given to them. They still do stupid shit to commit crimes or whatever. And then you're dealing with someone who has absolutely no resources and they did stupid shit, but they may have done it out of necessity. They may have done it for whatever reasons, but you have one of those lives that no one can give you an excuse and just get away with it, because of anybody, when you've had to go from here to here to here to here to here, you just figure it out. And you're thinking of somebody that's never left this country. Some of these kids probably never left the county,
right? And
they do the things they do, and they have all the excuses in the world. And it's like, you want excuses? Sit down in that chair. I'm going to give you excuses before you have to go through your probation officer thing. So yeah, that's a lot. When did it all kind of slow down for you? Like, when did you settle in here? How old were you here? And you didn't have to leave again, let's say.
17. So we moved back at 17, my mother and I. So what's really frequent in international travel is your family's oftentimes split. Oh no, my sister was there too. I mean, there were really long spells where like everyone was somewhere else,
right?
Different continents. And I mean, I flew transatlantically by myself for the first time, probably at like 6 years old, with my sister. I mean, so we were really, it was such a different.
You had to sit up there in the jump seats with the stewardesses, like right up there in the front there.
Well, back in the day when they just like send a kid on a plane and you get off and hopefully someone was standing there to take you to the gate. I mean, come on, it was not, like where you've got tracking devices in your
Somebody
kid.
might have had a cigarette then right next to you.
Yeah,
They might have remember you could smoke on airplanes, man?
Yes. And you know
That's
why?
ridiculous.
I did smoke on airplanes. So like, yes. We landed here when I was 17. I came back. I went to community high school in Ann Arbor. That's ultimately where I graduated from. And I've pretty much been here ever since. I did have a whole stint where I moved to Vermont for a year, but this is where I've been. And my parents continued to live internationally until just a handful of years ago, actually. So I would get to go visit them in different places, but I have planted here and it happened by accident and I kind of just never left. And I don't, I wasn't intending on it. I never thought I would land in Ypsilanti, Michigan. But I love it. And I love raising my kids here and I wish that they could have a little bit more of the opportunity that I did to learn yourself in the context of such different backdrops.
Right.
But I'm really grateful to be here and raising them in this community.
Well, I personally, after reading the story and reading into some things that you did, I mean, I don't know if you ever had that official welcome, but the IPSI that does not know you, they need to know you and they need to welcome your work and what you're doing, because you could really just be here with the sir and the kids and raise your family and be a probation officer and do what you do, and not be affected by any of the surroundings, really just trying to protect your family from whatever, but you're out here. You're dug in, you're in the mud, as they say. And one of the things that I got into most recently really was the food bank stuff. A buddy of mine called me and just asked me, could I help take some stuff to a church and this, that, and the other. And I've done things with businesses. I'm not a chef, I'm a cook. And I've owned restaurants before. And I've loved when I've donated food and did things like that. That's just a different part of me where, and I told you, I'm an onion. I have all types of layers and we were going to talk about that. Did you guys find a car? Did you find? Okay, we'll talk more about that too. Apparently the YouTube feed dropped us after 3 minutes, but we're continuing on. And I told people just the people that were on early, they said, hey, it locked up at like 3 minutes, but we're good. We're vibing. So we're going to keep it moving. I saw something that I wanted to see out of people who work in the public sector, even people that work in the private sector, but I just want to see people take an interest in their community. Don't just exist out here, take an interest. And everybody's not always going to be on the same level, but what you've done, instead of really putting yourself just as a part of the team, you've created situations where you've had to develop the team, for what you're doing. So the giving room.
Yes.
The giving room is, and I've got the site up here. And I mean, the first thing, it's just like a no nonsense thing. Says, we are currently collecting warm clothing and winter gear for middle and high school students. Please refer to our list below for additional items most in need. So something like this, I never saw things like this on a regular basis. You see them periodically, but you don't see them as an ongoing thing, even though there's an ongoing need. What brought you to the giving room? Like to the idea of the giving room?
Oh, okay. So I've been with the court for 15 years. And the first 10 years of my career, I was in criminal sexual conduct. And so if a juvenile committed a sexual offense, I was one of 2 court case workers for criminal sexual conduct. About 5, I'm starting my 16th year with the court, which is so crazy. I don't feel like a 16 years worth of a court employee, but hey, right. This is going to be a stepping stone, right? This is like, I was just biding my time.
Okay.
And so when I shifted to, I'm a diversion and truancy court caseworker now. So part of my caseload is diversion and consent, which are informal programs with the goals being for it to be productive and effective, that this is the first and only point of contact with the court, unless these young people are going to come back and work with us, right? But other than that, I really, our goal is to close the cases successfully, dismiss the charges, and not have any type of a paper trail for them. Okay, so 2/3 of my caseload is attendance. And what I look at it as is really attendance support. Like I'm not here to hem anybody up. I don't want to make it any harder. What I want to do is to find out what is inhibiting academic engagement. You know, what do our families need? Connect them with it, make it happen, help the kids engagement wise, whether it's in that school, if we have to look at different programs. And my job is to make the ship sail as effectively as possible and for everybody to gain in the end. What I found when I came into this work was a staggering volume of need and just this huge divide in this county between accessing resources and opportunities. And one of the things that I had was a mother, a single mother with 5 children who was being not evicted from her housing. They were selecting to not renew her lease. And now she had a Section 8 voucher.
Okay.
Washtenaw County lost almost 800 subsidized housing units between 2017 and 2019-ish.
800?
I think I want to say close to, yeah. I want
So,
that to make me want to double
when you
check.
say they lose them, where do those families go?
Exactly. Where do those families go? And from what I understand of these properties, they were housing communities that had been built with probably some type of tax exemption, I'm assuming, and that when that clause had sunsetted, they had the opportunity to remain subsidized or go market rate. And Ipsy's gentrified. We know this. I mean,
Absolutely.
in the 11 years that I've owned my home here, it's appreciated a ridiculous amount. We actually did the opposite, where we moved from downtown Ann Arbor when our first was really little to Ipsy on purpose, because just the 2 years downtown Ann Arbor was enough for me. It's just what I love about this community is the engagement, is the kind of grassroots efforts. There's so many of me out there that are doing exactly this because they love and care about.
Sure.
But so I had this mom. And when I assumed this role, it put me on the front lines of seeing firsthand how there were just these massive resource deserts in this community and in eastern Washtenaw County, where we're rife with nonprofits, but it's access that's the issue.
Right.
And so this particular mother had lost her housing. I'm not going to get into the specifics of my feelings about the people who were in place who could have helped prevent this leading up to this point. There were casework supports. They didn't happen. Again, I'm here for attendance, but I really look at myself as like kind of the whole family piece.
Sure.
And so she's in a hotel with these kids, and she can't get housing because, and a lot of people don't realize this, you have your Section 8 vouchers. You have to get a landlord packet for every house, for every potential unit that you're applying for, right? Mm-hmm. At least one of the main housing units, there's Ann Arbor Housing Commission, and there's RPI Management, which is in Dixboro, which even if you add 2 dimes to rub together to get yourself and 5 kids on the bus, you couldn't get there. You have to have this packet. You have to then take this packet to the landlord. The landlord fills the packet out if they determine that you're eligible. Then you have to take it back to Dixboro. Then your caseworker reviews it. If you get approved, you have to find the money. If you find the money, then their own inspector has to come and inspect the unit to make sure that it's okay. And so I'm like watching this in real time. And it was so difficult because she had, as many families do, when you live in housing communities and you're late, even remotely, they immediately file with the district court. And so even if you have a $0 balance on your judgment, you have this record and there's discretion. Remember, we've lost all these subsidized housing units. And so they can turn you down when
Right.
they are concerned about your ability to follow through, even with a Section 8, voucher with utilities. And
Right.
so we've just gone through all these properties, and all these properties had said no. And she's on borrowed time. She's in a hotel that's being funded by other agencies, and it isn't fiscally responsible for them to
Right.
continue to put someone up in a hotel.
Right.
But it was impossible. We were just running up against all these obstacles. And I went to one of the local apartment communities, and I literally, I didn't literally, but I figuratively laid myself across this manager's desk.
I get it. I get it.
Do it. And she said yes. And they're no longer subsidized anymore. Anyway, themselves, they were then. And they've grandfathered everybody in, thank God.
Can you answer a quick question? Because I want to get right back to that.
Yeah.
Why do these communities become subsidized communities, and then why do they turn against it? Is it because of the type of tenancy they end up attaining? Because
my guess is because they can attract people at the market rate. And could it be because there may be issues that accompany Section 8 or dealing with, separate voucher holders? And I mean, it's probably a lot more of a smooth transition to just have a tenant pay rent and, perhaps not have to deal with that piece. A lot of them as well, also are managed. What I've learned is not necessarily locally managed. If you're talking about.
this is big now. This is big around here now.
Yes.
And I know you've been here for quite some time now, but a lot of these communities, the management company was right on site.
Correct.
Whereas now the management company is a conglomerate and they just own apartment sites.
Yeah.
And they're just figureheads in the office.
Yeah, and you're just a name on a paper, right?
Right.
There's no community engagement or ties to that. It's
Even the community manager of the apartment makes no decisions. Everything is kicked upstairs to the property management, and who knows when they're going to look at things. And God forbid you're in a situation where you have a property management team that is a Wayne County property management team that owns Washtenaw County property management, because they got 10 times more shit to do in Wayne County than they got to do out here. So you're automatically second fiddle here.
That's if they're even engaged. And I can't remember, I called the corporate office actually to tell them what an exemplary employee this property manager was, because I was so impressed with her on a human level, and I was so impressed with her on a professional level, and how she streamlined a process that had been just so haggarding in every way. And I called them, and I can't remember, but I do remember being like, what's this area code? And I don't even know that they were in Michigan.
Yeah, there's a lot of that now in this country. I mean, and I don't know what it is about Florida, but there's a lot of Florida property management companies that own properties in Michigan. I know there's some weird laws with Florida and the liability stuff.
Yeah.
So kick it, even though the site may be in Michigan, if you're dealing with a company that's in Florida, you may be dealing with Florida laws. And Floridians, I'm not saying that they're crooks, but there's a reason why some people move to Florida to do business and get away with some things. So I've learned to kind of look at that stuff. I mean, even right across the pond in Canada, you can do some different things in Canada. There's a lot of people that own businesses here where we can't really do anything because their actual home office is in Canada. Just learned a lot of things just through failures and different stuff over the years. But yeah, that's happening a lot. Now, she gets the place. She gets in with her kids.
That was a whole thing, but yeah. Well, and just what was interesting, and I don't know if this has changed come COVID, and I hope that it has, because we get in and then we have to find the money to get in. And at the time, we had the Housing Access of Washtenaw County, and we'd been working with them, and it was in downtown Ann Arbor, operating out of the Salvation Army. And so we were downtown every time, because back before COVID, pre-COVID, everything was done in person pretty much.
Absolutely.
Make an appointment, and then we have this in whatever time, and everybody's overburdened, and like when I work within the system, I completely appreciate how there's not enough time and resources and people to make it happen. And
right.
Those are decisions that are above my grade, but you just watch these practices and the question is, I really wish that there was more of having consumers informed process, because you just have such a different approach. And so at the time you had to make an appointment, you had to go downtown, and we went downtown, and that was me getting a county vehicle and installing a car seat and all of these pieces, because, you know, we didn't have car seats for everybody, because
Right.
even at hospital's car seat program at the time, you have to bring all of your children to the hospital to get fitted for the car seats in the vehicle to then have them given to you, is what we were told. And it's like, but how do you get down there when you don't have,
You don't have the car. Okay, you don't have the car seats, and the car seats are at Mott. Okay.
But what I was told at the time was, yeah. So, I mean, just like think about these things, and like how everyone, you know, you just don't throw your hands up and go, I'm just gonna, you know, dig a hole. And quite frankly, that'll work for now.
Right.
And so we get downtown, and this was for $500 to move in, which we know with most properties isn't even a quarter of what you need to move in. And we were informed at the time that she had to have a paper copy of the birth certificate and social security card for every member of the household.
I mean, it's not to say that she shouldn't have that, but just for qualification's sake, I get it. But if these kids are here with her, and I'm sure that there's some type of secondary paperwork, she's probably state aided to the point where she has something that shows, you know, for their medical benefits or whatever, all the kids. Let's just say she has 3 out of 5. She's got 3 birth certificates, and she's got 4 out of 5 social security cards. Are you telling me that holds up her process?
Absolutely. But think about it. Even getting a birth certificate is a privilege. They're $15 a pop. When you have a kid that's born, you get a proof of birth. But to go downtown, you have
you still. Oh yeah. So that's $75 just for birth certificate.
Yeah. Or have a credit card to pay it online and a stable address to have it mailed to, and have enough money to pay the excess for doing online business, or at least that.
We're trying to acquire the stable address because we're in a hotel that we're not going to be in for much.
And we don't have time. We're on borrowed time.
Are you familiar with a recording artist named Billy Preston?
No.
Old R&B singer, started with gospel as most Black singers did back then. But he had a song in the 70s called Here We Go Around in Circles. And that's what that life is for a young woman out here, obviously with no male support, with 5 children going through this carousel. She's going around in circles. She becomes dizzy, she becomes frustrated. And at the end, I mean, without someone like yourself, where is she really? And
Right.
I've seen and heard about women ending up in shelter with multiple kids.
Right.
Maybe not 5, but I know I've known of women in shelters with 3 children.
I think that the shelter opportunity, it's really difficult to get into the shelters because they're chronically full. And this was before this happened, before COVID. But to accommodate somebody with that many kids, there was maybe one option in the county, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And that's not Hawk saying that with if I recall, it's a federal grant stipulation to have that paperwork intact. And when I said to the woman we were working with, and you know, I said, that's really fascinating because of this. I went to college. I borrowed a disgusting amount of money to go to college. I have bought a house. I have refinanced a house. I have bought vehicles, and I've never once had to produce my social security card. And I can tell you why, because it was stolen out of my car in 1997, and I was too bone idle of a kid to ever bother to get it resent.
Because really, how much do you need the actual card?
You need the number, and that's what I'm saying
That's
to
it.
this woman in this office. Like, but what you're telling me is I need to produce a unicorn, because then to get yours, you couldn't do it online. You're like going online, it keeps glitching. It's like, well, go to the office on elsewhere to make an appointment and come.
Oh yeah, try that. Try that.
5 kids. Yeah. So it was just like, you know, for me, and I was in it, like it was happening.
Sure.
And, we were moving it anyway. So we made it happen. And
Okay.
so there were the ITSE district schools and the Student Advocacy Center, because she had support through them, showed up, got us, helped us make it happen, and other area agencies, and she got in. So then she gets in, and we're like, yes. And I was there the night that it happened, and I took, pizza, because, when you're moving, you eat pizza, and they walked.
Sure.
She'd never even seen the place. I had seen them. She was like, I don't even care. I trust you. Just like make it happen. And I was there the night that those 5 little kids, walked into this house and just could breathe again.
And that's, yeah. So that right there, to me, and like you said, there's a lot of people that are around here doing this type of work. I don't know personally. I love talking to some of the people that I've been talking to. I've been dealing with a lot of politicians and stuff like that. But that's because they're at the beginning of their tenures and and this world is changing. So they need to know that they need to be on point with their shit. And people like myself want to make sure that they know that they're on point with their shit. But when I get to talk to people like yourself, and you tell me there's other people out here, what I'm trying to do at this point is connect those dots, because you can only do so much. Mm-hmm. You've got your 8 to 10 hours worth of actual salaried work. Then you've got the giving room. Then you've got whatever you have. We haven't even mentioned your husband. We haven't mentioned your family. So if there are other people, and there are other people that have resources and access to resources, why is no one trying to put together somewhat of a chain link type thing? And because you can only, like I said, you can only do so much. Yeah. And why isn't there a vessel at Social Security Administration, a vessel down at the county clerk's office, where it all ties into people that are looking, that have assisted housing needs, to make sure that's part of the housing packet, or it's part of, I know that like when they're on assistance, when women are on assistance, or even men, I know that they have to deal with this. There's like a monthly packet or a quarterly packet that they have to go through and fill out to make sure that the benefits stay intact. Why isn't that box there to say, hey, do you still have a copy of your Social Security card? Do you still have a copy of your birth certificate? Because when your time is up, you're going to need to produce that. Because putting someone on the spot to do that when you're dealing with not very good on the spot situations with Social Security Administration, with the clerk's office, that's a problem. I know you can get a birth certificate expedited, I believe, now at the clerk's office. I believe you can get them pretty quickly now.
I think you can get them, no, maybe not on the spot. I feel like I got them quickly, but again, you have to get there.
At one time you could get them on the spot, but something changed with that. There's starting. Yeah.
My oldest is 12, so the last time I had to get one, I'm like totally out of the loop. And now you're making me wonder if I ever got one for my 3rd. Now I'm all like, whoa.
Get your shit together, Jess. Get your shit together,
Right. And that's the thing, is like, obviously, and that's where I said to her, like, I just never even bothered after 1997. I think I like dabbled on the website a couple times and then was like, no, it's too much asked of me. And I never finished it. And, here we are.
It's one of those things.
I registered at Washington Community College that day. That's why I had it in my wallet. And then,
wow.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason you actually had it on you. And so, knowing her, knowing other situations around here, with the giving room, is there a program, like, now is she a part of like standardized stuff that you end up, do you call her, or does the giving room call her and say, hey, I know you got these 5 babies, we've got coats coming through, do you need
I track families, for years.
Okay. I figured you did. I didn't know if that was part of the system with you and other people.
I am the system. It is me. I run the entire thing. So why I set it up was, once she moved in literally with the clothing that she and her children had on their backs, like literally. They had nothing. And at the time, it was like, okay, so we called Friends Indeed, and they said, we'll bring her in for an interview to be put on the list.
Okay.
Like, okay, they still have nothing. And then it was like, and then there was the Kiwanis, and you can come to Kiwanis if you schedule it in advance on these, I want to say Thursdays was when they did it, but they have to come with somebody who'd completed the training. And then you have to get there, which is almost to Dexter. It's deeply out Jackson Avenue. And you have to have the ability to get what you buy and take it with you.
Okay.
Which again requires transportation. And so it was like, and I hadn't completed the training, my intern had on my behalf. And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. So, because we still have these babies, we still have this house. Like, I can't even imagine being in a house with 5 kids with nothing. Like, where do you start?
Right.
How do you do any of the things? How do you feed them? What do you sleep on? What do you know? And I just wanted these kids to have, these pieces, and they've been through so much. It had been a really long summer. And I put the appeal out on social media, and I got permission, and I said, can I just see what happens? And the world showed up in droves. Like, people just woof,
wow.
just came out of the woodwork. And in a week and a half, she had everything from washcloths to couches to dining tables to a better outfitted kitchen than I have. I mean, just everyone came. Yeah. And they were like, it was so wonderful. And I was like, you know what? People are inherently good.
Right.
And we want to give. They just don't know how or where. And sometimes dropping off at the Goodwill and putting your, treasured items in plastic tubs and, calling it good doesn't necessarily happen during those hours or whatever.
Right.
So I was driving around like I lived in my car because I had so many donations that I was like, I was like one of those people where you see where they're completely caved in their own vehicle.
You're a hoarder. You're a hoarder of good circumstances.
Of good circumstances. My husband's like, for real, what are we doing here? And, one of my jobs is going in and out of the school. And I ran into Aaron Rose, who's now the director of facilities. He's an Ypsilanti High School graduate, and he was the principal at Holmes, and he is now the director of facilities. And I said, hey, Aaron, do you guys have a space in the district? Because I'm realizing with all of my attendance families that there's this need. And if we can, I want to set up this space. And he said, he put it out there, and then Ryan Johnson, the principal at Estabrook, said, we have the old locker room if she wants that. And we showed up and we cleared out the locker room and we moved stuff in. And so, the giving room was kind of born. And it's
nice.
A little bit of a play on Living Room and the Giving Tree.
Okay.
Michelle Silverstein book. And I don't know, it just we had to come up with something, was really what it is. And White Community Closet didn't stick. And so when I created it, it was this beautiful kind of symbiotic relationship where there were the community-based education students from the high school would come down, and I set it up where I wanted it to be an in-district work opportunity, because we're always looking for community-based work opportunities for kids in that program. And I thought, with all of my, probation kids, what I really see our job as is to create opportunities for skill building, and to just position every kid in a way where they have the opportunity to get skills, to learn things, to function in a multitude of fashions.
Right.
So I wanted them to have that kind of soft retail experience and say, let's inventory, let's set it up. You guys can do the spreadsheets, and you can pack the referral boxes and have those ready to go. And then my probation kids would come in and we would run the donation drop-off events. And so we'd schedule these events. Community members would come, we'd wheel up flatbeds, and then my probation kids, we'd run laundry, we'd do all of that kind of stuff and bring in the donations. And it was great. And honestly, I was kind of phasing out of it because, like you said, I work full time. I've been on the board at the Corner Health Center. I have 3 kids. And I was really setting it up to be its own run entity. And then, boom, March 13th, the world shuts down.
See,
and then the need continues. So
the need continued, and it got greater.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. The need got greater, and you go from a business that is literally hand to hand, you're touching, you're working together, to where now nobody can touch each other. Nobody can work together. These skills that are being taught, you can learn some things online. And I know they're teaching everything online right now.
Yeah.
But what you're teaching, the character building that you're teaching, it'll never get old. Learning is the most fun when you don't think you're learning. And you were teaching kids, and sometimes it was just to pass the time. They had to get through it. They were on probation. This is part of my situation. Sometimes it was volunteer work, whatever. they had no idea that you were actually teaching them a skill that they're not going to forget for the rest of their life. It used to be there. People thought that character building was working at a fast food restaurant because you went through all types of stuff. Well, now even that's gotten so automated, you really don't have or develop the type of skills. And the way our school systems are built now, they've taken out all the vocational training classes and taken out all of the real life shit that you're going to have to deal with as soon as we put you out in the street when you're 18 or maybe you're 19 and whatever, 19 and 9 months, whatever it is. Whenever you got to get out and you got to get out there and you don't know anything because you didn't teach any vocational training. Hopefully the parents gave you a little bit of something and you saw something on the outside, but because that stuff isn't being taught in school anymore, the giving room is one of those places. And we need these places all over the county, you know, really all over the planet, but we're speaking about our village. We need these things because there's kids out here that are getting left out just systemically. It's not that they want to get left out, but there's not going to be anything at the end of graduation. And there's not going to be a college. There's not going to be a trade school. There's not going to be an opportunity to go somewhere. They're going to be told to go get a job. And will they even know how to fill out a job application, whether it be online or a paper? Do they know how to formulate a resume? There's certain skills that they can learn at the giving room, because the giving room doesn't always have to be about the benevolence of giving clothing and items and things like that. You could have, today we set up our tables. We're going to teach you how to fill out a job application. We're going to teach you what you need to wear for a job interview, how to speak, the way to answer questions, the way to ask questions. That's what the giving room can be. And we need giving rooms like that all over the place. So it's unfortunate that the schools don't see fit to have the vocational courses, but this is vocational training right here. The giving room is vocational training. Any other program like this, and they need to be upped. I did a clip earlier today, which was somewhat harsh. Some of my clips are somewhat harsh. But I talked about how people laud detrimental behavior and they don't laud greatness. And they're happy to laud detrimental behavior, negative shit that's out here in the atmosphere. But then when someone's great, they won't laud it because they're like, oh man, I ain't kissing their ass, or I'm not doing it. It's not about kissing anybody's ass. If someone does something great, they do something great, commend them for it, because that's actually showing your greatness, to be complimentary.
Absolutely.
But when you purposely don't show a complimentary behavior or demeanor, you're showing who you are. You're not lessening who they are, but you're showing who you are. And that right now is big in this world with social media, you know, clowning people online and this, that, and the other. I don't know how much of a sports fan you are, but pro football player Cam Newton just had a kid take a TikTok video of him at his football camp, and the kid was trash talking him. Well, they called it trash talking. I called it flat out disrespectful behavior, because one, how can you trash talk someone that you're at his football camp? You're at the facility that he put you on and allowed you to come to his foot. He's a pro football player. Doesn't need to even have a camp, but he has a camp, and you're at his camp and you're trash talking him. You're down talking him. You're disrespecting him. That doesn't start with that kid. That starts with parenting. And I know his parents didn't send him to that camp to trash talk Cam, but they didn't put enough in him so that he wouldn't, so that he'd know better. So that's where I still blame the parent. I blame the child for the action, but I blame the parent for not making it, I'm talking absolute clear, crystal clear. Take your ass to this camp and do something stupid, and I'm fucking you up when you get home. That's the way I was taught. Don't do nothing to embarrass this family.
Yes.
Don't do nothing to embarrass this family. Why wasn't that kid taught that? Because he immediately hit play or hit record, made that video and put it on TikTok, and he's viral now. He's viral for disrespecting a future Hall of Fame quarterback, but better yet, a man that took time out of his busy career away from his family to have a football camp with you and invite you, and then you want to down talk him and call him names and call him out his name. That makes no sense to me. So I understand when people don't go back. I understand when people don't do extras. But then for someone like yourself, because I know the giving room hasn't always been the smoothest ride. I know you haven't always been treated the best. And You've probably been called out of your names as a probation officer. You've probably been called out of your names once or twice, maybe 3 times. I mean, I'm not going to go over 3, but probably at least 3 times you've been called out of your name. So why would you want to do something like this? And that's where a lot of people are like, why? She's a probation officer. She puts up with enough shit. You've shown that. You've talked about that. And why does it keep it from other people doing it? It's the same reasons. It's like, do I really want to go out here and put myself, you know, just on the slab for children that I'm really not going to have any bearing over years down the line? And I don't think you take that into consideration. It's like, I'm going to do what I can do while I'm in the paint. And then whatever happens after that, at least I gave them the best Jessica I could give them. So I commend you for that. Now, what is it about the Secret Santa? Because the Secret Santa and the giving room kind of have some ties together, but they're not the same thing. What is it about the Secret Santa where you're concerned?
I started it.
So it's so funny. So this video is going to be about, like, you're like, you know, I'm not just a part of the team, I am the team. This is like, you know, okay, so what happened with that? So all of these companies, all of these businesses, all of these things locally, because I know we hear the term Secret Santa, but what you do, what you did, because I've read up on it, why? why did it come about? Like, you already had enough on your plate, Jess. What made you do the Secret Santa after all the other stuff?
So I had a little boy, and this is actually a part of that article that really ticked me right on off. And I took it all the way to the top of MLive and they wouldn't take it down. So I was in the library by Sycamore Meadows.
Mm-hmm.
And I had even said, don't say that. I don't know where this kid lived. It didn't matter to me. This is an area that has already received enough negative press, and
That's racist.
I am not.
I'm sorry. I'm back.
Interested in furthering that whole notion, and so.
Oh, that burns my ass. I knew you didn't like it. I knew, because
so
that's
angry.
It's so unimportant where the geographic location of this child is, but that's racist. They do this a lot. They do this purposely. Right. They could have said Superior Township,
absolutely,
Ypsilanti Township, absolutely, whatever, outside of Ann Arbor, a suburb of Detroit. Why did you have to actually give the complex where this happened? I got it. I'm sorry.
It pissed me right. It was the first thing, and to be honest, I was fully expecting to be lambasted for that. I really was, and nobody said anything, which was like, ugh. The way that came about was when I was holding school meetings, because I work with, do you know Isaiah Daniel? Have you met with Isaiah?
I know the name.
He is in the top 3 of my most, I just have so much respect for that man. He has been with the district for 26 years. I have learned so much from him. He's just a superior human. Anyway, we had been having these meetings and it was like, okay, so if transportation is an issue, we need to bring the meetings to families, because it was, again, all about connecting with resources. I'm in that position. My partners at the ISD, that's what we all want to do, is like, where are the barriers? Let's, get over them, connect you with what you need. That's all we want to do. And so I went to the Ypsilanti branch that's out there that shares space with the firehouse. And I said, would you be able, because it was the only space I could think of. I work really closely with Harold Wimberly at Christian Love, but I've worked with him for a long time. He's a great friend of mine, but I thought maybe if we kind of situated ourselves right there, people from all over could get to us. And YDL actually came out and opened early. And staffed the building so that we could hold our meetings there. And that is the only relevant part of the story to Sycamore Meadows. And we had 100% attendance, which was great, because it was like, let's make it accessible to everyone.
Right.
So, and then that's where this little boy had said to me, and he said it so nonchalantly, and because we were talking, it was December 19th or something like that. Sure. And we just, we're talking about it, and like, something about Santa, and that's where he said, Santa's not coming. Santa doesn't come here. And I said, Santa's gonna come, which was totally awful on my part, honestly, but it kind of blurted out of my mouth. That tells you, my
It's what
life.
we take for granted because
Absolutely.
Santa has never not come. I mean,
They
and you're a grown
vomited
woman.
everywhere for 6 weeks out of the year, and then
Right.
some. And it's just, and I said, Santa's gonna come, and he deadpan looked back at me and said, Santa is never gonna come, and he's not gonna start now. And I was like, he's coming. So I went home, and my kids and I went out and bought a whole bunch of presents, and I wrapped them all up, and we delivered it to just a handful of families on Christmas Eve, because I thought it's hard to keep the surprise, from kids. And I included stuff for the parents as well, because I think that everybody should be, supported. The holidays are for everybody.
Right.
Anyway, so that was 2018. 2019, I woke up 8 days before Christmas, and my husband teaches graphic design, and I said, design me a logo. And he was like, ugh. And so he did. And
You got an in-house graphic artist?
Pardon?
You got an in-house graphic
I have
artist?
an in-house graphic. He did all the graphics for all my stuff. He's amazing. But he was in the middle of midterms, and he's like, for real right now? And I'm like, yes, I need it right now. And so he did. He designed the Secret Santa logo, and that's when we came up with, kind of he and I together, because he's got a marketing background.
Okay.
With Santa Society of Ipsy, and I put it out to the community again, because I'd realized with the giving room. So I thought, whoa, I wonder, what'll happen. So we put it out on social media, and in 8 days, it just like everybody showed up. And I was able to kind of create this system where we all were able to use county buildings. So we all wrapped together at the Learning Resource Center, left it there overnight. And then I had a whole team of delivery folks. And then at the last moment, somebody donated $500 worth of chicken pot pies. And muffins. And so then came the let's do food and wrap it for everybody and deliver it late at night like Santa would on your porch. And so then this year, being 2020, and coronavirus, I thought, well, if I start a little bit earlier, I wonder, give people, take advantage of Black Friday and, being in the spirit, if I can, make it happen. And had to rent a storage unit because county buildings are closed. So Extra Space Storage on Carpenter Road. Jeff wrote them another positive review as well and called corporate. Jeffrey is amazing. Again, exemplified professionalism and customer service. And so was able to set it up and make it happen for 53 families with over 200 people in coronavirus land, to get wrapped and delivered to all of them. And over 200 volunteers showed up, bought presents, donated money and delivered and wrapped everything. It was a true community effort. So
stuff like that, to me, I try to explain to people. That's why I was like, I'm not one of those people I'm never going to get into just blaming one faction of people or blaming certain individuals just because of what someone else that looked like them might have done. I've learned to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, but the bathwater is dirty and the bathwater has to go, but the babies still need to be bathed. And I'm wordy, so just excuse me. I look at stuff like that, 53 families. And I know to a lot of people that doesn't sound like a lot, but in our village, 53 families is a lot to be able to help. 200 volunteers is a lot to be able to get to come outside of themselves just in this small area. Now, would I love to hear 212 families and 800 volunteers? Absolutely. But I know the time we're in and I know the constraints that we're under. I have no doubt that you'll double that next year. Or
you too.
And I have no doubt, because you'll have people with big fucking mouths like me promoting this all year. And speaking of promotion, I need to we have a show sponsor tonight. I just really want to put it out there. I'll have the thumbnail on the head of the video, but since things got screwed up right there at the beginning and I found out we lost YouTube, the Starstruck collection, boss up, press on nails and labels for feminine blinging elegance. It's wordy, but it's sexy. I've seen some of the work. So I'll have the thumbnail, and they're working on their site, but I wanted to throw them out there because it's a friend of mine, very close to the family friend. Just found out that her relatives, I used to go to church with her relatives, and we didn't know each other back then, or I probably would see her, but she was like 6 and she had boogers in her nose, and I probably didn't pay attention because I was 12 and I was big shit. But anyways, we've just learned that recently, but that's her company. And I want to definitely talk her up, because anybody that's out here doing something extra during this time, this is an easy time for you to kind of just kind of withdraw from everything. But when you're out here trying to do extra on top of being a parent, on top of being an employee in somebody's company, I commend that. I could go out and seek big businesses, and I told you I was in the car business, and I am going to help you find a car. Now that I know that you were unsuccessful last week, I'm going to put some feelers out there. I'm just going to need some specs, and I'm not going to need some realistic expectations from your husband. But we'll talk.
That's the hurdle.
Hey, I understand, but that's my job. That's my people like to deal with me as a former car salesman. They love to deal with me as a car salesman because I was always on the customer's side. My managers hated me, but they loved me because I made them money, but they hated me because I literally would come out and I'd be sitting with the customers, and the manager would sit across. When they would train you, stand behind me when we're talking. I would always sit with my customers, and they would get pissed because, dude, you don't pay me. My customers pay me. All you do is hand me my check. They create my check. And once they got used to that and saw that the pros outweighed the cons, and the cons were just, I didn't really comply with their hierarchy. I believed that my customers were my boss, if I had to have a boss, and they were my managers. And that was it. Now my grandkids are my boss, and, and everything else is secondary. So what you're doing, I have to commend you for it. And I'm not going to keep you here all night, as I told you, because I really tried to shorten up some of my clips. I call my clips doses because they're doses of reality. They're doses like medication. And, the show is called The Black Watch, but it's really because it's from a Black perspective. I can't speak from your perspective. I can't speak from anybody else's perspective but mine. And I know what I see, and I know what I like to put out into the atmosphere. But Ypsilanti, Washtenaw County, and anywhere else you have directly or indirectly affected, they need to applaud you, because, like I said, you could be a Washtenaw County probation officer, be Miss Ashmore, or Mrs. Lang, not by name. I'm screwed up here. I'll get it all right in a minute, and not have a care in the world. But this is something you've stepped outside yourself to do. And we'll talk more. Hopefully, we'll. Because there's going to be other things that I want to talk about. I've got some brothers that I'm dealing with, and I really want to start it with the men, because we know as Black men, we don't always get the fair shake about fatherhood and just being in our children's lives or being mentors and different things like that. People love us when we're coaches, but they don't really like to fuck with us when we're mentors, or they don't really like to talk to us when we've got to be about something. But how come I just can't be a man and help you with your situation that you have going on with your kid or someone else's kid? Why do I have to have a title? Because my title is a man, and I want to be a part of things. So I've got something started with some brothers, and we're calling it the Washtenaw Way. It's not really a Black Panther type of situation, but our focus, and I'll just kind of give you a heads up on it, because you're only the second person to hear the things that we're going to focus on, because I trust you. Where are we at here? So the thing was, I wanted to get into talking about housing and nutrition and education and apparel. And I want to keep those terms global, because there's all types of housing needs that we have out here. And nutrition, it's not just about just giving families baskets of food. It's the food that they get, how they eat it. Because I've told people, you eat a pound of lettuce, you're going to gain a pound. Now, if you eat a pound of ground beef, you're going to gain a pound. But what's healthier? Which pound is healthier? Education. You've seen it. You've seen these schools, the way they teach our children now, and the way they've taught children in the past. Everybody's not on the same playing surface where education goes. And apparel. One of the biggest problems in our society, I think, today is the attention that we put on clothing. because as long as it's clean, as long as it fits, and as long as it's not too revealing or whatever, I'm not sure why we put so much emphasis on clothing other than the societies who like to promote it and make it bigger than the individual. Some people, they don't make the clothes make them. That's a problem. We've got to change that around. And you've seen it as kids that you've dealt with, you know, they've put more stock in what they're wearing than who they are. And that's a problem. And that's parenting, that's mentoring, that's anybody that they're going to come in contact with. Unfortunately, those are focus points that I want to stick with, whether it's fortunate that I want to stick with them, but we're still having to go through that type of stuff. And you don't want to see people, the Sycamore Meadows thing. It didn't matter where that child lived, where that family lived.
Yeah.
They have a house, they have a home,
Yes.
you know.
Well, and the response was, we've written other stories about this area and we believe it lends sympathy, or something really kind of two-bit like that.
We need sympathy, or do we need resources? I mean, I don't even need empathy, because, you know, some people don't know the difference, but I don't need empathy. I don't need sympathy. I need access to resources.
Yeah.
And I don't need that just because I'm from Sycamore Meadows.
Absolutely.
I need it because I'm here. I'm needy. It doesn't matter. So that type of that thinking, those what do they call them, talking points, or, you know, different things, they think that's going to tug at someone's heart.
Right.
No, I don't want to tug at their heart. Real shit, as a salesman, I want to tug at their wallet. I want to tug at their time. I want to tug at all of their accesses, but I don't want to tug at someone's heart, because I have a problem right now with something that's being done, or it's just got commissioned to be done in the city of Ypsilanti. And I don't know if you've heard about it or not, but they're talking about putting up a Black Lives Matter mural. And my problem is, I know Black Lives Matter, you know Black Lives Matter, and Black people know Black Lives Matter. And there's tons of Caucasian people or non-Black people that know Black Lives Matter. But what do we need a mural to look at for? The money that goes into painting that mural, could that feed some families? Could that house some families? And are we at the point where it makes us feel good to stand in front of a mural? It makes me feel good to stand in front of someone who is getting taken care of. That mural is not going to bring life to anybody out here. It will take up time. It'll make people smile. They'll be able to take selfies in front of it. But what will it really do in the city of Ypsilanti and Washtenaw County? I need people to have access to resources. I need people to have access to people like yourself, and not just through the probation system. But how do they get there if we're just going to settle for symbolism like murals? If we're just going to settle for, I'm a part of Black media, whether people like it or not, I'm a part of a Black media. I'm a media type. I've been in broadcasting for over 20 years, off and on, from terrestrial radio to this. And I've never wanted to say anything stupid to people, because I know that my voice carries enough to where somebody else hears it, they'll go say something stupid too. I'm influential enough to where they'll go say something stupid. So what I say, it's got to mean something out here. And what we do, it's got to mean something out here. And so many people are just caught up in the symbolism, Jess. It makes them feel good to be symbolic, and it does nothing for us out here. I've been most political most recently, and I'm ashamed that I wasn't political earlier in my life, but I was raising kids, and I was in and out of relationships and marriage, and I can't apologize for those things. I apologize for the marriage, but I can't apologize for the other things that I've done in my life, because it's brought me to this point. It's brought my grandkids here, and I love them and they love me. But I have to be on point when I'm talking to people out here, and people like yourself, they're not brought out enough. They're not commended enough, because you don't go looking for the accolades. You don't go looking and say, hey, I did this. You just do the work. It just gets done. You just do the work. You know, the giving room, the Secret Santa, to hear you say, yeah, just Joanne, she did this over here, and I just forget. No, you started it. It all starts with somebody starting it. And you just happen to be the person that seems to be starting things. So now what I know you as is a shit starter. So you've started some shit around Washington County that we love, and it needs to be commended. Flat out. It just needs to be commended, because as this name gets out there, like I said, we'll double what you did this year. We'll double the amount of volunteers. I'm hoping that we're not stricken with COVID for much longer, to the point where we have to be in this space, mask and different things like that. I know they said we're possibly into it for the whole year.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And for me, because so many of our families were grandmother-led households, that I took absolutely every possible precaution.
Absolutely.
You just can't be too careful. But nothing was going to stop me. It was happening one way or the other. And so that piece, but it's interesting, because I didn't even know I was being interviewed when I talked to the reporter. I thought that she was getting info, and I'm actually really glad that I was being diplomatic, because I really cannot be sometimes.
We'll have those conversations too in the future.
And I have opinions, and I see it. I've seen it. It's too. I can't not do something, and I realize that yes, I'm doing resources, and I'm helping people get what they need, but I'm just slapping band-aids, quite frankly. If there isn't larger systemic pieces that are put in place that, again, have like consumer informed processes, it's just all band-aids indefinitely. But so I was talking to this woman, and then she said, okay, well, and God bless her, she's young, it came from a good place. She's a young reporter. I just think she was naive, to certain things. And she wants to do something right, which is highlighting everybody. And I said, listen, I tend to like move in the shadows. Like, I don't,
Right.
She said, well, we'll schedule the photographer. And I said, photographer for what? And she said, well, I want to air put this out on Saturday. I was like,
what was there to photograph? What would she want to take a picture of?
Me.
Oh, okay, just you. I thought she wanted to like go to Sycamore Meadows or something like that.
Well, at first it was kind of like, well, is there like, can you stand outside of Estabrook? And I'm like, I'm not really feeling that.
You're fucking kidding me, right?
No. Like, I'm not. It was really funny, actually.
I'm Jessica. I saved this family because, and you know what that's going to be. This white woman thinks she's saving black people.
And that's where I said, do not paint me as some white savior, thinking I'm some white savior who's coming in and, with broad strokes, delivering boxes of soap across Ypsilanti. Like, that's just not how I'm feeling doing this. And quite frankly, my response to most people, because I get a lot of like, you're so amazing. And it's like, I'm not really amazing. I'm actually kind of a shitty person. But the only difference between me and anyone else is that I do it. That's it. You just have to do it. Just do it. If you see a need, meet it. Like,
we look crazy doing shit sometimes to other people who can't fathom doing things. And that's really the only reason we look crazy, because what we're doing is not crazy. What we're doing is not so far-fetched
in the world.
It's the easiest thing to do is to do something.
Yes.
It's actually more difficult not to do shit, to try to avoid it, because now it's on your conscience. Now it's all kinds of shit. But if you just do it, you can just keep moving.
Yeah.
Now, the people who only do it for the accolades, for the interviews, for this and that, they eventually fall off. They eventually get exposed because they're only doing it for that self-gratification. But if you're just out here moving, and like you said, you move in the shadows. I'm not real big on being up in people's meetings and marches and protests, because for one, unless I got a decision maker there, unless I got somebody in power there that I can talk to face, the fuck am I marching for? What am I singing for? What am I dancing for? If I want to do that, I'll go to the cabaret. Well, we're not doing that because it's COVID. I can go to the bar. We can go to the nightclub. I don't need to dance. I don't need to sing and dance. I can do that at home.
Yeah.
But that's what people are in it for now. And I just have a problem with that. We're not really doing the work just to do the work.
Right.
We're doing the work because
articles and memes on social media and calling that like justice work. It's
not there. It's not there.
Trust me. If anything, the work that I do has made it harder to kind of function with people I knew before.
Sure. Oh,
That's
that's the thing. I was going to ask you, But I figure maybe you do have some people you fuck with that understand it. But I bet you, can I say half the people that you dealt with before you got into these humanist, philanthropic situations, whatever you want to call it. I don't know exactly. I called you activist. I think I just labeled it activist, Jessica Ashmore. Before you got into doing this type of thing, half of the people that you deal with, do they understand it? Half?
In terms of my socially, no.
Yeah, socially.
No. And
Wow.
what's really fascinating is how few people I know that support it in any fashion, even throw 10 bones in that direction, right?
Wait a minute. So
but it's so amazing.
They don't support you in your mission.
No, but they'll share the MLive article. I mean, there are people who shared the MLive article I don't think I've talked to in well over a decade. In fact, that's how I even found out it was out there, was like all of these shares, and I'm like,
oh, you got to be kidding me.
No.
Well, see,
humans, I mean, I've learned to kind of separate myself from expectation. Because what people are compelled to do, and maybe there's other causes and other things that the spirit moves them to, and that's great. It's really hard for me to listen to what people think are problems.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that your Pottery Barn pajamas showed up with all the wrong sizes and threw off your Christmas card photo is not a problem. But in certain universes where, the plates all continue to spin, that is. And so it's just hard to listen to, because I just have formed these really rich relationships with a lot of families that I've worked with over the years. And I just have so much respect and admiration for all these women who, get up every day against impossible seeming odds and make it happen and nurture their families and work second and third shift at Amazon or at Phorecia or at all these places and do it, without complaint. And that to me are the people who really need to be called out. That's incredible. And so
real shit. That's Black life. And I know that everybody's not Black that's going through that situation, but that's Black life. That's what we deal with on a regular basis. So it's really just kind of like moving. And it's weird to me when you say stuff like that. Yeah, my Pottery Barn pajamas didn't show up, so we're not going to be able to do our photo shoot for the holidays. Well, this person that worked 2 jobs just got 2 shutoff notices that got to be paid on the 23rd. Ooh. And now my kids aren't going to have a Christmas. So I don't know what to do, because I've been working and I've been away from my kids all this last quarter. You generally get that job in the last quarter to try to stack up a little bit. And then you got these shutoff notices that you've been trying to keep up with. And these companies said, we're going to shut your shit off on the 23rd.
Yep.
So do I pay these bills, or do I make sure my kids get presents?
Because your voucher got decreased the second you started working.
Right.
Second, not even we're going to give you a month to catch your breath, or 2 or 3, God forbid. And, really let you kind of get your feet sorted underneath you and get, all those.
You just found out you're making another $1, so we about to take some money from you.
Absolutely. Right away.
Yeah. See, and
that's, it feels oftentimes like one of the most important classes I ever took, and I always mention this, and I feel like it should absolutely be mandatory, was an urban planning class that I took at Eastern when I was in my bachelor degree. So I got my bachelor degree in psychology and criminology, and I think I needed some filler, and I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. And I always kind of look at America as curious in general. I'll be honest with you. I learned American history in 11th grade in my AP US history class because I just didn't experience it. I shifted schools around so much. I mean, I went to 6 schools in 2 years at one point, right? So my life was just a constant tumbling machine. And so I learned American history in the 11th grade. And when I was in this, in some time in college, I thought, urban planning, that'll be fascinating. I was completely unprepared for what I learned in this class. The first thing I learned actually is when the teacher came in, or the professor came in, he was in overalls. He was this old white man. He had a beard that was probably down to his navel. and looked, I mean, you'd think like, you know, assumption like, you know, all right, so what's Farmer Joe going to have to tell us about urban planning? And I'm always wrong. And I chronically learned it in my life to not ever let first impressions, you know, be who you think somebody is, because this man's level of knowledge was just shocking. And he painted a picture of how cities and communities in America were designed throughout history. And it was so striking to me as a relative outsider, the intentionality that went into keeping certain communities exactly where they were.
Did they really dig into how highways were built to drive right through Black communities? And, you know, so they got into that. So urban planning might be a urban development. Urban planning, urban development.
Planning, I think
planning.
is what the class was. And I think everybody should have to take it.
Absolutely.
Especially in social work, because I got my MSW and it blew my mind, because then you come at it in understanding that this was someone else's plan of playing out exactly how it was intended to, as it pertains to access to resource and opportunity.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely.
And that is what I see our job as a court, is that we increase access to resources and we create opportunity to help kids and families get beyond this and have this just be a story they tell, not the story that tells them, right? And so it just, I can't even begin to tell you when you look at that. I mean, it was just so, it's heartbreaking, really. It's tragic, it's terrible, and it's our job to fix that.
It's amazing that you had to go to college to learn that, where obviously many of my elders and ancestors lived it. I've encountered some of it, or encountered the effects of it. And I've become more and more political, and I've definitely become much more progressive where Black politics are concerned. And I am what they call a reparationist now. It's a term that was been coined recently by descendants of chattel slavery. We're looking for repair, and people don't really understand reparations. A lot of people think it's a check. A lot of people think that it's just a way for us to get some government money. They've obviously never taken an urban planning class. They've never learned real American history, how things laid out. So I make it my business to make sure that anybody that I come in contact with to understand that reparations is exactly what it means, and that's repair. And in this country, Black Americans need to be repaired. Descendants of slavery need to be repaired. Now, is there a check that needs to be cut? Absolutely. But not only is there a check that needs to be cut, but there needs to be accesses, and there needs to be things that are built in with specificity of Black Americans, descendants of slavery. Now, where Black immigrants go, where Black people go that are not descendants of slavery, there needs to be a Black agenda, because they're marginalized on a whole different level as well. Anybody in this society, outside of people that were deemed white Americans, have been wronged. And it's unfortunate. And it's not to say that some white Americans, because poor white people have it fucked up in this country too. Yeah. They just don't realize it, because they can use their whiteness a lot of times to gain access to things even than a poor Black person. I mean, they've said that a Black man with a college degree is still worth less than a white man who dropped out of high school. Statistically speaking, that's the way it is. That's the way it's been built. And that's why having highways be built and run right through Black neighborhoods across this country, it was just another disabling tactic. I mean, obviously, slavery was the biggest disabling tactic. Reconstruction, sharecropping, redlining, peonage, mass incarceration, all of that those were systemic problems, and there has to be repair. What you do, it's not reparations, but you help some families repair on an individual basis. Should the government stop because you're doing it? Absolutely not. That means they need to really kick into high gear, because if I'm Jessica Ashmore, probation officer, doing this, why aren't you doing double? Why aren't you putting yourself in play? You make it more difficult for someone to gain a house, but you say everybody needs a house. Everybody should be in a house, but you make it more difficult.
Yes.
reparations. You know, the repair is in the system. Some people need to be removed from jobs. I see it. I know it. I believe it. But what you need to do is change the system, because if you change the system, you'll get rid of the individual in play because they won't want to be there anymore. They'll go find something else to do.
Absolutely.
That's what needs to come into play. And so we need more Jessica Ashmores out here. We need more people that are going to just do the work just because. And I know some people are just doing it. Hell, people getting 501c3s and 501c4s for gain. There's ways to make money out here with nonprofits, obviously.
And people ask me all the time, and I'm just not interested.
It's not a situation. If you were looking to gain, so you'd have did it already. You created that. Why wouldn't you have been able to draft that up and get a? It's not about that. This is about the families involved. It's about the people. And that's also why you stay so community directed. I mean, you wouldn't want to be in a school. You wouldn't want to be in county buildings and things like that if you were trying to hoard resources and this was for personal gain. You're right out there front, like, say, hey, I'm right here. I'm doing this. And I want other people to be able to understand we can all work together. We're not always going to agree, but we can all work together. And there needs to be a Jessica Ashmore, not just at Estabrook, but there needs to be one at every vacant or available spot in every educational edifice, every other county edifice that you need it. I mean, you know, like you have, you know, you go to these schools and they have the little stores and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I heard some school stores don't exist anymore just based on the resources or based on the volunteering. Okay, let somebody come in and make that some type of community closet, because your kids, they get older, they get vain. So high school kids might not walk up and say, hey, I need a pair of gloves. But you know what? You find out that kid needs a pair of gloves. You find out what that kid's locker combination is. You go put the fucking gloves in his locker.
I actually started a clothes closet at Ypsilanti High School.
Okay.
Back in a corner of the building where it can be really discreet for exactly the reason that you described, because we all remember being teenagers and you don't want to be in that, you know, position. And so that's exactly what it is. You just have to do it, and you kind of do it quietly, and you make sure that it gets done. And
it gets done.
It gets done. And then hope that, you know, that kind of ripple effect of we really are in this together. And I look at it as, and I'm not just saying that in like, you know, the Hallmark or bumper sticker fashion.
Sure.
I actually truly believe that the better off you are, the better off I am, the better off we all are. And as a collective, we have to do that for each other. Like, I raised my kids to do the exact same thing. They're involved in every aspect of this. We were just out dropping off food and, you know, coats, and, you know, they come along, you know, they're part of it. When Christian Love's open, they, you know, serve the food and stuff themselves. They're out there. They have to. That's our job. And from as early as I can remember, I felt that way. It just is a compulsion that I've always had, is that I'm born called to serve in that sense, and I want to do that. That to me is ridiculous, because we just don't see it enough for someone to say that they're called to serve. Usually, as a Black man, I grew up in the church, Pentecostal church, very strict, and when people say that they're serving, they're generally talking about, I'm serving the Lord, or I'm serving God. We're generally just serving a preacher, but they're serving. You serve people. And I think anybody that's even in religion, when they lose sight of who they're really serving because they're serving people, God's okay. God doesn't need you to serve him, okay? If you want to believe that God gives you the strength to do what you need to do, okay. But don't tell people that they're serving God by giving you money and you go out and buy a Bentley. You go out and buy a mansion. They're not serving God, they're serving you. What you do is you serve someone when you make sure that they have clothing, when you make sure that they have housing, when you make sure that they have adequate resources to live functionally. Yeah.
That's a servant.
And a lot of times I don't even see them. I'll just text them and let them know it's on the porch, and, you know, from whatever information, and then kind of peace on out, because I don't want to, you know, it's again, that discretion piece.
I mean, so you're not like standing outside the house, just, you know, taking a picture. Oh, and this is my granddaughter. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Oh, I can see that.
That's my granddaughter. She's a superstar. Yeah, they make it seem like for people that do things like this, the first thing they're supposed to do is go grab a headline.
I know.
The last thing you want to do is grab a headline.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that that family got what they got. So the only thing that you're going to do, I'm going to text you and let you know that the stuff is there and I'm gone.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I need to do. But the way this world has gotten so sensationalized, every time you do something like that, they want you to make a post about it. They want you to do this and there's nothing wrong with acknowledgement. But sometimes some things don't need to be acknowledged because they really should be so normal to where
Right.
acknowledging them, you almost look foolish, you know? And I respect you for that. I respect you for coming here tonight. And I respect you more for staying 90 minutes with me after your long day, after, you know, dealing with your meetings and stuff tonight. But I look at you as a friend of the Black Watch. I look at you as someone that we can hopefully come back, and I look forward to having some Zooms. I told every politician that I've talked to, after the first quarter, I'm going to come back and want to start talking to you. I want to see what you're doing, because we talk about a lot of things that we talked about tonight. It's about the people. It's about access to resources. And I want to put you front line and center with some people that you'll probably have already met, some people that you may have not have met, but they need to know who you are. You know, they need to know who you are and that you're doing the work, and that you're doing the work for people that probably voted for them in office. But are you doing what you need to do for those people who voted for you to empower people like Jessica? Because that's what makes this all work. And like I said, the only connectivity of it is that my big mouth is going to do that, and I stand back and yield, and I want to make sure that everybody that's in play is doing what they need to be doing, because we need to jump in the giving room, doing the Secret Santa and different things like that. Any type of program that you have that's going to be for the betterment of people, we need to have volunteers on deck for it. We need to have you turning away people saying, you know what, we're good this time. We got enough volunteers to fit the families. We want you turning away people versus begging people's support. And those people who don't support you, don't worry about it. I got over 1,400 Facebook friends and I get 30 views on YouTube. So I'm not worried about it. I don't care. I cuss them out all the time. I'm like, you know what? I appreciate everybody who supports the Black Watch and supports the channel, and everybody who doesn't, fuck you. That's the way I feel about it, because everybody loves me, man. They love my content, man. You be talking some real shit. Dude, did you see that video yet? No, I didn't check it out. What? How do you know that I have great content if you don't even watch my video? Then I can go through my subscribers and I'd be like, oh, they're not even a subscriber. Why am I talking to this individual? So I've stopped talking to so many people in 2021. People don't even know that I've stopped talking to them because I don't talk to them on a regular basis. They just don't get their calls answered. They don't get their text returned. I don't fuck with their post anymore. Some of their birthdays have already passed. I don't care. I know you don't support me after I've supported you, after I supported your woman, or after I supported you and supported your man, I supported your kids. I know you don't even support me on the level of just subscribe to the channel. You don't even do that much. And I'm out here daily trying to help you, have helped you keep housing, have helped keep money in your pocket and food on your table. I do it on a very granular level than you do, but hey, if I know somebody's struggling, even when I ain't got it, Jess, I try to make it happen, because I know people ain't as resourceful as I am.
Right.
I already know.
That's all it takes. I mean, it's just do it. I mean, it's
just do it. I mean,
it is, yeah. And
I know you need it, so I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it because, and hopefully they do the reach around. They reciprocate in some way down the line, or just when I call on them for something that they can do. Hey man, fuck that $30, $40, $50, $100 that I gave you. I need you to do this. Yeah. You have a certain skill and I need you to do that.
Yeah.
That's called trading. That's bartering. That's whatever, because the money is not the aspect. It's the principle why you needed that money.
Right.
And you fed your family. You needed gas to get to work, to make it to Friday, whatever it was, man, just pay it back. And you can pay it back just by giving me what you got, and everybody has something.
Pay it forward. The next time somebody's standing in front of you in that kind of situation, just
pay it forward.
I mean, and it's the simplest thing, really, to give what you can and give of yourself. Honestly, right. That's free. And there's so many different ways in which to do that. And so that I feel, and that's, I mean, really, I do that with my probation kids as well. When the world is right side up, I've over my, God, almost 16 years. It's so crazy. Always created opportunities where kids can get out. You know, we've done Meals on Wheels. We ran the Ipsy thrift store when that was still in Chapel. We've done all of those types.
Wow.
Yes. I went to the director because, again, wanted our kids to have retail experience opportunities. Again, I'm so serious that I really believe it's our job as the court to create opportunities for kids and to skill build. And so, yeah, we did all those things. We had a book club. We did over the years. We've, you know, it's just so important. I think that our human experience is really relevant. We're all very much more alike than we are different. And I appreciate the reasons for the differences. And you're absolutely right. Those need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed systemically and effectively, right? Not just like pretty brochure style, but like we're actually really going to come in here and we're going to do what it takes, and we're going to bring people along who can help inform our practice. And that's like, you know, necessary, but we all have these commonalities. And so it's been truly my privilege over the years to be able to be in the position to do what I'm doing. Well, honestly.
That to me, like I said, I didn't even know before the article got posted on one of the Ann Arbor politics sites.
Oh, really?
And I had seen your name floated around. I'd seen Giving Room floated around, but I just hadn't connected the dots. When I saw the article, I was like, okay. And then I clicked in the hyperlinks, and I was just like, oh man, this is an interesting person. And I hadn't seen you do one of these. You may have, and I just not a supporter or have knowledge of another platform.
No,
and I was like,
this is my first.
Really?
Yes.
Well, on that note, I'm not going to even go any further because I didn't know. You're a pro at this. So hopefully from this point, you'll get somebody who has more than 30 regular viewers and we'll put it out there. I still have a few people that I know in broadcasting, so I may just nudge a couple people that I know on Fox and that I know on the local ABC because they need to know. And I'll let them know this ain't about no clown shit. She doesn't want to be glamorized, but you have the platform to where you could come out to the Giving Tree and you could see the things that she does. And these are people, both I went to high school with. One works for the Fox outlet here locally, and one works for the ABC outlet, both Ann Arborites, both Ann Arbor Huron graduates. And I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, do you have knowledge of this person? This is someone that you want to talk to. So and I'll give you the names. I'll inbox you the names who you may be expecting to hear from. But this is what they do. They're out in the community and they reach out to folks like yourself to find out what you're doing, why you're doing. You probably answer some of the same questions, probably not the same way. They won't cuss nearly as much. But you need the exposure. And I want to be a part of the doubling, the tripling, the quadrupling, the families that can be helped and the volunteers that we have out here, because frankly, like I said, I'm a reparationist and I know that the government owes a debt. And I know that we need to be able to get all the resources we need primarily from the government, but really it all starts with us. Right. It all starts with us. And we've got more people helping each other and then putting pressure on the politicians to make sure like, hey, if you're not going to help with this, we're not going to help you in November. We're not going to help you because that's when you need us in November. Right. So.
Yeah, but a lot of the decision-making in those capacities aren't always elected positions. That's the other piece. But I have to be honest with you. This type of scenario in your podcast is really, quite frankly, where I'd rather be. So I am humbled and honored that you've asked me to be here, and I mean that sincerely. My only impetus for ever kind of talking on a larger scale would be to help other systems and districts replicate this. Because
that's what this is more about. This wouldn't be to come in when you have like the action going with everybody around. You're a blueprint. Like I said, when you didn't just say, hey, I got working with Judy. I don't know why I keep J's, I guess, because you're Jessica. But, you started this stuff. So if you can help this be implemented in another county, in another area, that's always the goal. It's about connecting the dots because there's a ton of empty rooms in a ton of different districts that need this. And people would be more than happy, especially with anonymous flair to it. We don't need to know that you dropped off 100 pair of socks. We don't need to know that you dropped off 50 sets of gloves, or whatever.
Right.
We don't need to know it. We just need it done, because once they see it in play, people love to do stuff like that, but they shy away from the spotlight, which is much like yourself. And I myself don't really like the spotlight. I was in radio, and I have a face for radio. I don't really like being in front of the video thing, but this is the way we get our message out here. I've got a few people working on it to where they want to make me go audio. I think they feel the same about my face being for radio. But when I do video stuff, it's got to be something like this. I don't need to be sitting here just someone listening and looking at me. They've got to know that there's real people out here doing what you're doing. And it would be great for you to share that blueprint, because it's not something you're trying to hold on to for yourself. You're trying to help families all around here, even outside of the village of Washtenaw County and outside of the state of Michigan. People just need to know how to get it started. And sometimes it's really just about asking. I mean, you just sound like you just asked some people, like, hey, this is kind of getting a little bit too big to have out of my garage or whatever. I need a building. Right. Oh, there's a building over here. Oh, let me give you this number. That's the way it all starts.
And it does, and it comes together. In fact, one of my volunteers for Secret Santa took it and replicated it for kind of on a smaller scale in Romulus. And so that's, something that already moved into that district. And then one of my favorite parts about this year was that some of our families from our last year came back and were volunteers and helped shop for me and go out.
That's what I'm talking about.
Tugs and come back. I mean, they were indispensable in helping this. Our dads wanted to be delivery drivers for other families. I mean, it was really, a kind of a true community effort in that respect.
You're about to be the MLM queen pin of philanthropy for people. It's something I just totally made up, but you got people that you help came back, and now they're helping those people.
Yes.
So in 3-4 years, all of those people that you've helped are now helping those people.
And some of my former juvenile court program kids came back and volunteered too, because they had heard about it. It was really fantastic.
Now that right there is a whole different level. And
I'll get you out of here. Other than just to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you, I track people, right? So I keep in touch with so many people and that I've worked with over the years, because I just value them. And yeah, so some of my kids came back and helped, organize and get everything going.
You were introduced to somebody because obviously they had a criminal record, a criminal conviction, and they're now partners.
Yeah.
See, that's,
yeah.
People can't tell me that this world can't be like this. It doesn't have to be just in pockets. We can be like this everywhere. And
Absolutely.
we can push those people that don't want to be like that into a corner, into this country. And we're surrounded by water. So let's just push them off into the water. If they don't want to be with us, if they don't want to work with us, we can. But see, a lot of people just think it's too daunting of a task to do this. And no, we do it. We have enough people doing. Those people that are not doing, they'll be cornered. They'll be forced to flee. Right. They won't want to be around all this, love. That's all it is love. You got to love people. You got to love what you do. Love making people happy, and
yeah,
it's all good. So
it's the symbiosis of it. Yes. No, kids were wrapping presents for other kids. They were
kids that didn't have presents before are now wrapping presents for other kids. Yeah. Okay. I got it. So I'm going to inbox you just so you can tell me what you guys need. And I'm going to start putting, because we got tomorrow, then there's a long day Thursday. I don't know if you have time to get out there, and whenever you're going to get back out there in the field to be looking for a vehicle. But I need y'all moving. So I need to make sure you get a great mode of transportation expeditiously, because I can't have you need to be moving. I'm serious. I'm like, this is way more than I thought, Jess. Literally, I thought you were going to give me some dry ass answers, and I didn't know how it was going to work out. But this is great. To be honest with you, I want to say once again, for my sponsor, because I'm very unprofessional with this. This is the first time we've done a sponsorship on Black Watch. Black Watch is sponsored tonight by Starstruck Collection. We'll put up the link to how you can reach out to Rochelle. And if the audio was a
I
little,
need to know more about that, because part of what I make a point of doing with the money that I PayPal pool for Secret Santa is shopping local. And so I included the Butters and Blackstone bookstore and put in orders in different places. And all of that goes into kind of like the family, like family stocking. So
I got you. I got you. I got you.
So all of these, make sure you get me that information and connect me, because I want to support small local Ipsy business.
Absolutely.
And that's a big intention that I do as part of the gift. It's because what I want to do is also introduce local people to local products.
There you go. And that's why I try to do what I do, because I just need to connect people. Some people just don't know how to get out there. And it's very difficult to advertise your businesses now. It's expensive knowing that to me right now, for me to accept money from someone for a sponsorship, no, what I need you to do is putting my video out there on your platform and having more people come here, because once we do get more followers and subscribers and viewers, then obviously there's a monetization factor with YouTube and other social media platforms. I'm not concerned with that now. I'm concerned about connecting the dots, because what I will get at this space, I'm going to be giving it away anyway. I want to get to that point where, hey, we made $250 tonight through donations, and that's going to be going to the giving room. You know, we get close to the holidays, we're going to be donating because I do a video damn near every day, not this long, but we're going to be donating weekly to the Secret Santa situation to make sure, and that's local businesses, that's, businesses abroad. And I'll be getting with some of these bigger shops, because they need to do it too. They got it in their funds. Yeah. I worked in some huge car dealerships, and the amount of money that they had for philanthropy, they didn't call it philanthropy. It was like community stuff. Oh my God. They put out about $50,000 to $100,000 in some of these big dealerships. Some people never come get the money. So that just goes to the sales managers and, da-da-dee-da-da-da. And if those guys aren't privy to it, hell, the dealer just keeps it. He just keeps it. And they have money like that because I guess there's a lot of laws that you have to have so much money for this and so much money. Nobody comes for it. What am I supposed to do? They leave it there long enough to where it's like, just let that run back into the account and we'll make sure we take care of it. So
I'm surprised they wouldn't find somewhere else to put it. There's plenty of need all over the place.
Car dealers, for the most part, are not human. Car dealers are not human.
Judging by the response with calls and texts, I'm beginning to wonder.
Car dealers are not humans. They're different, and they're training salespeople now to be like them, even though they make a fraction of what the dealer makes. And that's why the car business is going away. And that's why you're going to be buying your cars online and just picking them up from a warehouse in a few years. It's unfortunate.
That's happening right now. We can
it's happening right. Absolutely.
I'm kind of, I don't know. I want to like see it and drive it, whatever. And I'm very detail oriented. It's probably a function of my profession. And I just can't imagine ordering something from Texas and having it shipped up here.
I can't see it until it gets here. I mean, that makes no sense to me that I can't actually sit in it until it gets here. And now I'm kind of be forced to take it because
I'm on the line for heavy cheddar for it. The whole thing is a little
Yeah, it's weird, but humans messed up the human element. See, people are going to blame automation, but don't blame automation. Blame humans, because if we were still very viable in this space, certain injuries, certain entities are going to have humans still be there.
Yes.
But where you're not really viable, why have it? I mean, and I've seen the structure. I've seen the automated bus or truck back into the prototype loading dock. It basically plugs in, and the door of the overhead door of the truck comes up. There's a robot that comes out of the building, and the pallet has slid out because it's kind of on a conveyor in the automated bus, and they just leave the pallet there. The robot gets the pallet, backs into the building, and that overhead door drops. No human element. Now, there's somebody in a tower making sure that everything is working, but that used to be a driver of a truck. That used to be 1 to 2 people driving either a forklift and guiding in. No, they're getting it to the point where there won't be a human from the driver, from the loading dock worker to the forklift worker, and they can go store it right on the shelf with not a human in sight. But there's somebody, the eye in the sky is just making sure it's all happening the way it's happening. So that's one person. So what do our kids need to start learning? Coding, computer
Absolutely.
programming, computer
Yeah.
repair.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying we don't need electricians, plumbers, and HVAC people, because we need those people too. But the jobs are going to be for the people who can program the equipment, fix the equipment. Hell, you might need to jump down out of the tower to do it for a quick minute while that equipment's down. So be industrious enough to be able to do that job. But they're not talking to kids like that.
No.
They're just making them think that, hey, you know, just go through 12 years of school, jump into college, this, that, and the other, which, you know, the faction of people that you deal with, those are pipe dreams for most of them.
Right.
So we
Well,
got to
because they've been kind of disconnected at a much younger age, and school is oftentimes a place that makes them feel bad about themselves.
exactly.
You know, and I was that. I didn't like school all the way through my master's degree. I'm not an auditory learner. It's largely got college mostly just makes you good at Trivial Pursuit. I mean, what is half of that? And it just was like never my thing. I just found it very dull. And so I feel for kids. That's another job we've got to do, is we've just got to make it experiential, and we've got to make it relevant, you know, and that's just, ugh. There are so many pieces that were just put in place by people that are antiquated, and nobody's really truly bothered to kind of dig in. And I feel like sometimes so much effort goes towards the front stage of the people who love to talk about them. And what really plays out behind the scenes is a very different story. And so that's where it's like, I love performers. I love performances and of all types. And I've been a performer. I've been someone that's been on stage and looked out at thousands of people and introduced acts and things like that. But the person that really is the star, back in my day, starting in the late 90s and into the early 2000s, is the person that does this. The person that draws that curtain that allows me to be seen, because I'm standing there, I'm standing on the X, I'm right in front of the microphone. I am nobody until that person draws that curtain, until the person up there puts that spotlight on me. I'm nobody. I'm absolutely nobody. So those are the real stars out there. A performer, I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do on whatever scale, but those people never get acknowledged in the presentation of it all. So I need that. These are people's lives. That's the thing, is that in social service with all of us, these are people's lives. These aren't programs. These are like humans on the receiving end of that. And so I think oftentimes, isn't always necessarily what's spotlighted. And that's, we have to bring ourselves back to, is like, these are people, and our decisions and our efforts make or break, many situations. Like the court, for example, we want each and every single kid that comes through to be better for it. That's our job, and these are lives, and and doesn't get any more serious than that. And
people just don't understand that it's just a very simple component of just making the effort and uncovering a few layers. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything to just put that effort forth. And that's why, to me, it's remarkable that you do it with all the other stuff that you do in today's society with people that you know, but the performers, the people who are really putting in the work are you. Who's getting all the accolades are the politicians. Because when things get better for families around here, it's always the politicians and the bills that they passed and this, that, and the other. You did nothing, bro. You did nothing, sis. You did nothing. It was the person right here in the village that did it.
Yeah.
Hell, when you were running for office, they may have been packing people in their vehicle to get them to the polls to help vote for you. But you did nothing for them, but they helped you. And you don't even throw them a bone to say, hey, we need to make sure whatever your program is, you've got everything you need. They don't look back. That's where I'm kind of in the middle of that, to make sure they look back, because I don't play that shit.
And I think more people who do the work need to kind of be the decision makers because you have such a different context for it. And that being said, by the way, I have no interest in ever being a politician or really climbing the ranks, quite frankly, because I don't want to deal with the stress and I don't want to deal with the time out of my life because my life is right here in Ypsilanti, and that's a huge piece
You
of
might
it.
be a little bit too real to be a politician. I already hear it in your voice. You're a little bit unapologetic with some shit that politicians, they have to kind of lie.
Yeah.
Just because?
I can't play the game. I've gotten better over the years of delivering the truth in a more productive fashion. It used to,
Real shit.
I mean, well, I was union. I was the vice president of the union county system. I was executive board for 10 years. And I learned probably more in that role than I've learned in a lot of roles. And it's, you know, to be, just because you're right, you have to choose between being right and being productive.
Right.
You know, you can be right, but if you aren't productive, what's the point, right?
And that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, I don't care if you're functionally correct. I don't care if you are functionally correct. And see, that's where former president, you know, of 8 years and he was lauded for being the first Black president. That's where he gets off, and he can get the pass a lot of times because he was functionally correct. He didn't have any scandals in his family, and he didn't do dumb shit, and his daughters didn't get caught, scaling the White House walls, and they had a very, very productive time from the outside, what it looked like. But when Black Americans came into play, he didn't do what he said he was going to do before he was elected. But that's not necessarily his fault. As I've learned, we didn't put the pressure on him and the people leading up to him to make him do what he needed to do. Because when it came time for other situations to happen, Native Americans stepped to him, he did what they needed him to do. LGBTQ plus stepped to him, he did what he needed to do. American Jews stepped to him, he did what he needed to do. And the dominant society of white Caucasian Americans, they're gonna stay in your face because they run everything anyway. Presidents are just figureheads, we know this. He did what he needed to do. We didn't put pressure on him, but we were so happy that the first Black president was in, we were just looking for the selfie. We were just looking for all of that. We weren't looking for, and I blame a lot of preachers, educators, whomever, boomers. I blame them because we got passive during the 8 years and we really should have got progressive. All them other years that we've been progressive, we didn't get nothing. We had a Black man in the seat and we didn't put no pressure on him. People put more pressure on me than they put on Barack Obama to be like politically correct. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not in office. I'm not an elected official. How can you put pressure on me? You didn't put pressure on Barack for 8 years. Why should I speak up on this subject? You didn't even say that about Barack. You're not saying it about Kamala. Don't put pressure on me. Put pressure on the person that's in power. I'm in a position, I'm in a play, but I'm nowhere near your now vice president or where your president was. And they look just like you. Why didn't you put no pressure on them? Because you were scared. You didn't want to be an outcast, this, that, and the other. And frankly, at that time, I was politically ignorant. And I was going through some things to the point where I wasn't even thinking about it. Yeah, he was Black president. I voted for him twice just because he was a Black guy. I was dumb. Now I will never vote for anybody based on the color of their skin. It was the dumbest thing I could have ever done because I got relatives that look just like me and they don't do shit for me. What made me think that man was going to do something for me because he was Black? Real shit. It's just the way it is. Yeah. You, on the other hand, I'm just going to say maybe half the families you deal with probably don't look just like you. Let's just say half. See, I'm good with saying half because I could be half right and half wrong. But you already know. Yeah. There's a reason. That's systemic. It's not because people didn't want to do good in life. There's some systemic issues there.
Yes.
And those issues are never brought out about politicians unless you put pressure on them. Politicians don't work on applause. They work on pressure. And you put pressure on them or else don't complain. Keep voting, getting your sticker.
The expectations of the constituency. No, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. Well, and then what do results look like? And I think that's what we also need to get really honest with ourselves as a populace, but what do we expect to see? Yeah. You could throw, I mean, DEI is kind of the very current training practice. but it's the practice. It's what comes out of it. What do you actually truly put into play from that versus just saying, you know, and that's exactly what I said at our DEI training for the corner board last night. I want to see it. I want it to be more than a conversation. I want it to be a culture, and I want it to be a practice, and I want it to be measurable, and I want it to matter. And, you know, otherwise we're just gassing off.
That's it. And some people are good with that. Some people are good.
Most people, come on now. Some people, most people.
How about half the people? No, most people, we know, real shit.
Absolutely.
Most people are good with the symbolism. It makes them feel good. They can talk about it, but actually putting it into play, oh shit, you know.
Or in general, that's why when I said to you, you know, having meetings to meet about what you met about last time, and then that's going to be this meeting, by the way, is going to be our agenda for next month.
I know where we met. We met at that meeting over there, you know, when they were having the meeting for, you know, meeting people. Yeah. Duh, I don't want to just know people from the meeting, because if that's the only thing that I remember you about, I don't remember the meeting. I don't remember what was accomplished in the meeting. I hate that. What are we meeting about?
Right. What are your action steps? When can you come back and tell me what you did based on what you were going to do when you left here? I don't care about what you think.
Yeah, but they're doing.
I do. It depends on the context, but I want to see. I mean, the talk is cheap. We need action, and you need action that is really easily and very directly referenced, just not circles. That's why I don't play the game. I don't play well in that respect, because I like to see it done. And that's kind of part of exactly why I started this, because I was like, you know what? I'm going to make sure people get what they need. They're not going to have to fill out any, you know, need, you know, index where I can determine if that's real. If someone from the school comes to me and says, these people need this, then I don't need to ask any questions, pack the box and I'll take it, or you take it, one of the two.
Right. And we've seen it, you know, I mean, somebody made a meme, it was a while back, where they said, if race doesn't matter, then take it off the job application, then take it off the loan application, then take it off the rental application, take it off the if race doesn't matter. But race does matter.
Absolutely. You know, true story. When I was living in
You've been telling lies this whole time, Jess. God damn it.
When I was in Abu Dhabi, I took I don't remember if it was the PSAT or the SAT, and they sent that sucker back to me 3 times, because every time they put race, I put human. And to this day, I don't have a score. That's a true story. I swear to God, I was sophomore.
Really?
All like, yeah. And I put human. And they were
sending a shit starter for a long time.
Where you're sending it from the Middle East back to the States, back to the Middle East, back to the States, and every time I put human in my little box, they sent it back.
Looking at this, that's funny, because it's coming overseas.
Yeah,
not like we've had great relationships from the Middle East. They're like, who the fuck is this? You know, like who's
like 3 weeks each way, right? I'd be like, oh, are we back on this again? All right, well, let me do it. I'm dead serious.
It's the human with their shit again. It's the human. Yeah. I bet you they have a file. I bet you have a file that, I mean, I believe that, I think anything that crosses the water, hell, there's stuff right here in the country, there's a file on.
Yep. Oh man, I know they did. I was stopped at customs every single time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when we're not live, I'll tell you about the one time I got when I was on my way home from Amsterdam. But yeah, no, I used to have, and I had in Arabic, I had an armband that said, "There, but by the grace of God, go I." And that was I had an armband in Arabic script, and man, once that one hit the press, I was pulled over in every single place you can imagine. So, and they knew we were coming. Sometimes they knew we were coming back from the Middle East to Detroit. My poor mother, you know, in her Land's End sweater would be pulled to the side.
Really?
But yeah. Coming from the
wow. Yeah. And this pretty much started with the whole SAT thing?
No, I mean, that was just a funny aside. No, that just came from how frequently we traveled back and forth to the Middle East.
They wanted to know who the fuck you were, man.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I'm trying to get to the point in my life where I can help people get housing. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm trying to help people, you know. I mean, because really, this is what you were destined to do. You weren't destined to be a probation officer. You were
You know,
destined to do
so
this.
I was a young person who got into a lot. Okay, my mother could probably tell you stories, but then it's what she doesn't know that would probably scare her that much more, quite frankly.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart.
Man, my mom was the child of a Marine, so she wouldn't dare. And my father was just a very lovely British person, and then there was me, and I was. I remember being a little kid and thinking that nobody knew what they were talking about at a very young age. Like, oh, you guys just don't even know.
See, and that's funny. That's funny to me because I think every kid is that. Every kid thinks that. But you said, would you say 6 schools in 2 years?
Yes.
And we probably are not talking in the same type of district or same area. You're like all over the place.
I was in 3 different countries throughout that. Yeah.
6 schools, 3 different countries. Yeah, not the same path that a lot of kids go through.
Right.
You learn things hyper fast. So of course, nobody knew anything at that point because you were almost just like this. I hate to use the term, but you were like a secret agent because you've gone to different things. You've lived a life that some adults will never live. The mileage you piled up by the time you were 25 is where most families won't have in their lifetime.
Yep.
Hell, I'm 51 and I know people that never got on a plane still.
Right.
Grew up in this town, never got on a plane.
No, I do too. Some of my family, are you kidding? And my American family are, very different story. No,
Well,
you can imagine when
I fucked up, Jess. I fucked up.
Midwest, and I come walking in. It's like, what in the hell? And and I'm looking back, kind of feeling the same way. And no,
Decatur, Illinois. Oh my God. Decatur, Illinois, though.
Yeah, and it was really, and that was my first time in an American public school. And and trying to fit in. I mean, I knew I never fit in anywhere. I didn't fit in anywhere my whole life, and so
nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
And so I started Roosevelt Middle School in Decatur, Illinois, and the Black kids were all really friendly. In fact, I'm still friends to this day with Shelly Reynolds, who threw me a lifeline.
Wow.
And was a really good friend of mine, and the white kids were weird, and there was this code in this language, and I didn't know it, and I didn't understand it, and it was kind of my first introduction to race really being a thing here. And because it hadn't been, you have to remember when I grew up overseas, like it legit was not. The color of your skin just told me what country you were from, right? If you were darker, you were Kenyan or you were Korean. And if you were lighter skinned, you were Ethiopian or you were, Japanese or whatever. That was my life. And so just recently, I think I was talking to my husband and I was talking about this woman. And I said, I don't know him, but she, I could tell she was Algerian. And he was like, what the hell? Who the hell notices that somebody's Algerian? And I'm, but this is how
I see her hairline and her nose.
She had
Algerian. Because you've seen so many people.
Algerian face. I knew that. Yeah, I could pick it out as a kid. I mean, are you kidding? And so that was my reference to that piece, right? And so, and Roosevelt Middle School in Decatur, Illinois, I was there from February until June, and that was my first real kind of introduction to American culture, and it was quite an awakening. And then I came back, very briefly, and then I went back overseas to Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates, and that's where there was maybe less than 10 Americans in that whole school.
Wow.
Yeah, I got stories for days, man. I'll tell you about it.
It was probably less than 10 Americans in the one in Decatur too, but it's different. I mean, they're patriots, but they're not really Americans. You know what? Somebody from Decatur, Illinois was at the Capitol. I definitely know that there was somebody in Decatur from Decatur, Illinois that was at the Capitol building. And we'll leave it at that. But Jess, I messed up. I said it a few minutes ago, I fucked up. This is 130 minutes. I did not plan on keeping you this long. I feel bad.
The pleasure is entirely mine. And it got me out of bedtime. Just kidding. I love my kids. I should love my kids, but sometimes you're just like, man,
So Mr. Lang had to put the kids to bed tonight.
I don't know. Judging from the sounds of it, he hasn't been particularly successful.
I heard the dog barking. I heard the dog barking.
Two of them. We've got a pit bull and a Rottweiler.
Do they get along?
Yes, they are the best of friends, and it's so adorable. They're
A
lovely.
pit bull and a Rottweiler.
We adopted the rat right as the shutdown happened, and kind of it just happened to us. But you know, like I'm with all the parents. We are in, I don't know, day 10,000 of this, and I literally this weekend looked at my children and I was like, everywhere I go, you're there. Like every single place. Like I go here to just breathe, and like all three of you are here with your faces hanging out.
Where did you come from?
There's no break, you know, because we're working more remotely, and I was I'm not made to be a teacher. I'm not. I am an impatient, unrealistic person, and I can face that, and it's just been a time. So it's actually been nice to sit and have adult conversation.
Well, hey, I appreciate that, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely.
On a multitude of levels, and the biggest thing for me, like I said, is that you're out here doing this on top of all the other stuff that you do, on top of being a wife, on top of being a mother. But it's really just work that you're helping people. You're just helping people get what they truly need. You know, I mean, there's some wants out there, obviously, but you're just helping people get the basic necessities. And from that point, hopefully they can gain more and attain more. That just needed to be recognized tonight. For me, it needed to be recognized. I feel good about it. Hopefully the audio, I know, was a little janky probably at first because I was excited about getting it going, and I didn't plug in the mic all the way. So we were on some different audio from like a half an hour, and then for the last hour and a half, it's going to probably sound a little bit different for folks, but you were great. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Hey, in this territory, I always tell anybody, especially after a conversation like this, you got any issues out here, let me know. I probably know somebody that's connected to somebody who might have produced those issues. I'm not a vigilante. I'm not like Denzel in The Equalizer. I'm not going to go around killing people strategically. But I can hurt you in certain ways if you're doing things to people like yourself, because your movement needs to not only grow, but it needs to not be categorized as, oh, that's a white girl doing this and thinking she's doing that. No, people need to understand you're doing this with other people that obviously don't look like you, and they know those people, and those people aren't even talking about it. See, that's the thing. You've called out some names of some people that I know are very influential in this community, and I know they know other people because I know their names. They're not even supporting it. Why? That's a problem. Don't not support it because a person's white. Don't support it just because a person's black. Support it because it's right. Just support it because it's right. It's the right thing to do. And we'll discuss all the other bullshit, if it has to be, later. I don't care who started it. I don't care who finished it. Who did the work in the middle? Who did the work in the middle? That's all that matters, because that's what connects the dots. So
yeah, absolutely. And you know, we're really lucky in that we live in a place where there are so many great things going on. There really are. And it could, with me, just be a matter of they don't know about it. I think a lot of people didn't realize, because I don't put myself out on front. Which is why I'm glad that you've kind of created a forum where people can come and talk about these types of things. And so one of the other things that I like to do is to include resources in any of the boxes that I am dropping off. And so we have like a brochure that we made through the court that is all the local resources. And so people know how to get in touch with a lot of, you know, the wonderful things that are here. And one thing COVID has done is make it more accessible. And I hope that, you know, this Zoom world sticks around for people, because it's made it a lot easier for IPSI to access and to have meetings and to hold appointments and court. I mean, the courthouse is downtown on Huron and Maine. This has allowed people, you know, from which disproportionately impacts Ypsilanti. It does logistically, it can't not. And so it's made these things more accessible. I hope it sticks around.
It needs to. I mean, I don't think it should ever go away, because not just because things will be safe and we can go back to normal. I bet you there's been a heightened level of court appearances versus, you know, people not, you know, skipping out. For business, people are definitely much more on point, because what happens is, and I know it's real life, but you go to this building to take care of all your business. Oh shit, I forgot something at home.
Yeah.
Now you got to reschedule. Well, if your Zoom call is happening and you're at home, hold on a second. Let me grab that.
We've got everything.
You've got everything. It's right there.
And
And you suggest
we can function like this.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. So
I
there's
really
different
hope
things.
it helps to close that gap. And that's what I really see our job as a government is to closing all the gaps and filling them, you know, with resources and opportunities. I know I've said it before, and that's my own soapbox. I really view that as our job.
I mean, that's it. I mean, people say, well, how do they close the racial wealth gap? How do they close this gap? How do they resources?
Absolutely.
It happens with resources. It's not like it's not me taking from you or you taking from me. It's the resources that are available that nobody goes and gets. Governmental resources are available, but only certain factions of people are progressive enough to go get those resources. But we shouldn't even have to be. If you know that this is already in play, you need to be funneling this as a government to the people. This is
the resources to then build off of. Like, I don't want to just go plugging dikes. What I would love to see are these kind of reciprocal opportunities that give people the skills or the education necessary to become completely solvent in all areas of their lives. That's what we need to be doing.
Section 8 to home ownership. I need you graduating.
100%.
I don't need you on Section 8 for 20 years.
Auctioned properties, and how can we then, you know, connect trades with fixing those? Absolutely, 100%. There are so many opportunities for reciprocity, and not to diminish, there's a lot of really great things that do happen here in Washtenaw County, and so it'd be great if we could take siloed efforts and just kind of like
absolutely
idea of function.
And what we know about silos is they never fill up, and we never need your closet to fill up. We never need, you know, you to have too much stuff. There's always room. Oh, we got to get a storage unit until we get another building. Okay, we'll do that. I'd rather have you in that space versus begging for resources. We'll never turn stuff away because there's always going to be a need.
Yeah.
Hell, that means that we got to put it in a truck and drive it somewhere else. There's always going to be a need. It's for the people.
Well, and even if you're giving them stuff, then that the money they would have spent on that can go, you know, to other directions. I think what a lot of people don't realize is food stamps is just food.
That's
and
it.
It's just formula and food.
Right.
And so diapers and wipes and, you know, soap and paper towel and all of those things that many of us don't think twice about is really an effort. And then think about if you don't have transportation and getting, I mean, all of it, right? So it's those kinds of pieces to put together for people to just ease the burden of it, and then they can use their resources how they see fit. So.
Public transportation, scaling back the routes, so you force a woman, by example, a woman with 5 children to get an Uber. Well, how many Uber drivers have 7 seatbelts? It's not happening.
And you can't get to Mott's to get your car seats.
Right. So, I mean, it's we got to make this make sense.
Yes.
And if it doesn't make sense for the people, who's it making sense for? So what you have that problem, that's because it is a problem. So what you have that situation at Mott, but she's in East Ypsilanti and needs transportation to get to Mott, but she also needs car seats that are at Mott. Dude, it's just not enough.
And disclaimer, this was the summer of 19, so maybe they've changed that practice, because I said to the woman, and again, so many people are beholden to federal grant expectations. That's the other problem, is that you have these parameters put in place by the federal government, you know, more often than not. It's the same with having the birth certificate and the social security card. When I talk to someone from the office, because I think I took it up the chain, because I've learned that a lot of times there's someone who can say yes, you just have to find that person.
Absolutely.
And they were like, it's like there's nothing we can do. It has to be submitted with the file, and it has to be a paper copy. It can't even be a photocopy. And ouch. And that's where I said to the school and to the county, can we have some discretionary fund where we can help citizens pay for their birth certificate, and so that they don't have to jump through those hoops.
And I guess I'm not sure why that's not in play. If this person is on public assistance for food and milk and housing, what makes you think they got cash to get birth certificates and social security cards? I mean, let's just be stupid about it. Let's be real stupid about it.
Cash assistance is like, that's a complete, it's so difficult to get, and it's very brief, and requires your active participation in job training programs, which isn't all bad. I'm just more saying that's kind of the notion that people are just like, you know, sitting here getting rich off of welfare is really inaccurate.
And political parties will make you think that people are getting rich off of it. Like, no, actually they're making less than they would work if they, or would make if they had a job and had adequate childcare, which should be, you know, aided by the government as well. It's just, there's just so many different things. That's a whole nother conversation. We're gonna have that too.
We would be on here until next year. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the difficult. So really, I think it's our job is to eliminate those obstacles and get people what they need. End of story. And I view that as part of my job. That's what I'm paid to do. So
I appreciate you. I appreciate the time that I've had that taken you away from your family. Just keep pushing, man. I mean, I'm rooting for you. People that are gonna see this video, they're gonna root for you. They'll be like, damn, that's around. Because everybody didn't see that article. And I didn't pub this the way I've been pubbing a lot of my videos because I'm on a 30-day ban from Facebook right now. So I can't really do that. So what I'm doing right now is kind of feeding my videos through other people's posts, and they're tagging me to make sure they hit my timeline and make sure they get into the network. Okay. But one of the things that I look at is I look at something like this. I'm going to have to chop this up, not only just because of the time. I don't care about people saying, oh, it's too long to watch. No, if you want to listen, you'll listen. You listen to fucking reality TV shows and stuff like that, watch them and all that. You can listen to this. But I want to chop up certain parts of what we talked about because we hit a couple points that some people just need to know. It's just about doing the work and getting out there. All you did was just start something. Yeah. You just started something. You didn't start it because you were white. You didn't start it because, you know, you wanted to help Black people. You just started something and said, I'm going to see if this works out. Yeah. And then in the middle of midterms, you told your husband, get off your ass and make me a logo. And you've been chugging along ever since. So, I mean, it is what it is. I appreciate you, though. We'll talk more. I've got so many things that I want to push your way as far as local businesses and people that they will be there for you. They will be there for you. You're not out here by yourself. You've been functioning alone in a lot of different spaces, but you're not out here by yourself, and you're about to gain some real support. You know, not that you don't have it already, but the village really has to know. And I'm not talking about just Ann Arbor and Ipsy. I need my Chelsea folk. I need my Whitmore Lake folk. I need all the people that I deal with. I need my Mylands, you know, all the people that I deal with to get in play here, because I know there's families out there that need it too. You just don't hear about them as much. Yes. Those are closer knit communities, so they tend to help each other. But we've got this right here. You can come in and get, you know, be a part of the program. And sometimes we talk about pride and we talk about different things like that. No, there's no pride here. If you need help, come get your help. Absolutely. You know? And I'm happy to share everything. And I'm sure, and I know there's people out there who are smarter than me and could do it better. I mean, honestly. And so I have no part of me is attached, you know, my ego is not in this at all. And so I would love to, because I had people be like, well, you know, do you have anything from Ann Arbor? In fact, this one woman really went 9 rounds about me because I wasn't including the homeschooling community, because the referrals for Secret Santa come through the Ypsilanti community schools. Yeah. And I was like, flat out, this is my community. This is where I am. This is where I started it. This is my capacity. If, you know, if your heart's in the homeschooling community, please, by all means. I've made it on Google sites, and trust me, if I could make a Google site, I'm useless when it comes to technology. To me, people argue and fuss and fight about the wrong things. I know. I was telling a brother that I was talking to today, people are really in a flux about how Ann Arbor has lost so many Black people. Well, in 1970, when I was born, there was 100,000 people in Ann Arbor, and there was 9,000 Black people. In 2017, there's about 117,000 people in Ann Arbor, and there is 6,400 people. I'm sorry, 7,400, almost 7,500. We've lost about 1,500 people in 51 years, but people want to talk about how Black people have left the town of Ann Arbor or been pushed out of the town of Ann Arbor. Rightfully so, they have been priced out of the game for the most part, but we're only talking about 1,500 people over 51 years. What we need to talk about is all the other systemic changes that have happened in Ann Arbor that have combated Black people from working in this town. county jobs, city jobs, things like that, where you would be able to make the type of income where you could reside in this town. So there's no point in me coming to town if I can't live in the town. That's the way I see it. Why do I want to work in Ann Arbor, but I can't live in Ann Arbor? And I literally have to go back to my village if I want to function. There's a lot of that happening, working at the University of Michigan, working at the University of Michigan Medical Center, or Michigan Medicine, as they call it. You know, that is a huge thing where you can work here, but you're not going to live here. You know, so we'll take your labor, but we don't want your kids going to school here. We don't want you residing here. Most people that they'll live in Ypsi, they shop in Ann Arbor. They shop in Ann Arbor. They don't go. Everybody doesn't go to 12 Oaks or whatever mall. They come to Briarwood, but they don't. They can spend their dollars here, but they can't reside here, and that's a problem. I'm more concerned about that than just the 1,500 bodies that Ann Arbor has lost over a 51-year period, because it's about the system. It's not about just those individuals, because a lot of those people have died off too. You think about Black home ownership in Ann Arbor was bigger than it is now. To stay, you got to pay. So you got to pay to be a homeowner. Well, we can't pay because they're not building, or we don't have homes where Black people can. So there's a systemic situation to why Black people aren't here. Not just because Black or white people don't like Black people in Ann Arbor. They've just made it to the point where, hey, you don't qualify to live here. And a woman with 5 kids, it's hard to find public housing that is going to accommodate her and her 5 children in Ann Arbor. In Ypsi, hell, anywhere. Yeah. It's hard to find that. And when you do, you know, it's
2 heartbeats to a room.
Right. And as I was talking about the mural earlier, I'm not concerned about the mural in Ypsilanti going up that says Black Lives Matter. I'm concerned about the Black lives that are living beneath the poverty level, because it's over 50% in the city of Ypsilanti. And I'm being nice when I say 50%, but it's over 50% of Black Americans that live under the poverty line. But we're going to put up a mural that says Black Lives Matter, but not put pressure on the city of Ypsilanti and on the state of Michigan to make lives matter. That's a problem with me. I'm not going to laud your paint job. I'm going to condemn your snow job, but I'm not going to laud your paint job. And that's what people want me to do. They just want, you know, that's good, man. It makes us feel good. No, that doesn't make me feel good. There's going to be a mural up. And most of the people standing in front of that mural are living under the poverty line. That doesn't make me feel good. How can I feel good about that? And for people that do feel good about that, I got heat for them. I got heat. I just, you know, and I still apologize for not being more aggressive. My father was the first Black Washtenaw County executive and basically talked against politics my whole life while he was here. Now I know why. Now I know why. I mean, you know, because they politicize people, and you shouldn't politicize people. Politics is politics, but when people get politicized, hey, they're just pawns in the game, and that's a problem. That's a problem we need to fix. We got to change those systems. So,
and those are lives, each and every one of them.
Yes. Yes.
Life. Yeah.
So I appreciate you. Once again, I'm saying goodbye this time for real. I'm actually just going to stop the damn call and just hang up on you. But I appreciate you. We'll talk again soon.
Absolutely.
Take care of yourself, because none of this happens if you don't take care of yourself. I seen you with your libations earlier. Keep hydrated. Keep your nutrition up. Take care of your kids.
Got a whole.
You drank that the whole. That had a lot in it when we started.
I know.
I feel really bad. That's 150 minutes. I'm out. I appreciate you. It's the Black Watch. Anybody that's watching this video, I totally thank you. Anybody that chose not to, fuck you, and wherever you stand. Jessica Ashmore, you're great.
Thank you.
You're lauded. You're celebrated here. We appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, man, that was another Black Watch. I'm late on doing something, so let me just jump in to a situation. It's what we do, man. It's what we do. And we keep doing what we do until it starts to make sense on a real level. And this will make sense to people. I believe it'll make sense to folks. If it doesn't, I don't even know what you were doing here, especially for over 2 hours. But I want to thank Jessica Ashmore for being here, taking her time out of her family time after she got off work, after she had multiple meetings to spend it with me. I'm gonna push this out into the atmosphere. And for all the people that can watch it and understand it and want to help out, we respect you. For anybody that can look at this and not say, you know what can I do? Fuck you. It's the Black Watch. I'm a black man and I watch shit. One love.